Right, time for this week's Street Talk. Gemma, you're not allowed to look at the screen at the moment. I'm going to reveal some storyline titles here. This is fresh reactions I need for this one. I've just got a couple, but I hope you're ready for this
You're
one.
literally guarding the screen like you think
Don't
I'm
look,
that bothered.
Don't look. Gemma's just looking on it. What are you looking at? I don't know, Reddit or something.
Yeah.
Right, so we're going to do the Spider and Toyah storyline first.
Right, okay. Spied enough.
What would you call it? Spider cops off.
Oh.
Do you get it?
It's a pun, isn't it?
It is a cop. He didn't cop off with anyone, but he's a cop and he's
I wish he did.
There's an apostrophe in it and everything.
That's great.
Right.
I can't see that because you're not letting me.
Next one, Stephen's storyline. Yeah.
Yeah. Stephen.
You can't just come up with them like that. This takes hours of thought every week, Gemma. Believe me.
Stevie Wonder.
Nice.
That's good, isn't it?
Caught red-handed.
Yeah, he was.
He wasn't, Yeah.
And you know what the best part about that was?
What?
He was only caught because Tim knows how to read.
Yeah.
Get it, read.
Okay.
That was brilliant.
It was well done. Right, next one we got the Aadi storyline. So
Aadi enough.
No.
Courtney Love.
No, although that may well come down the line.
Odd surface court.
I get it. No, wait. I'm more because it feels like some romance is going on down the line there, but I thought for this week I'd make a storyline title that referred to the driving bit. So you've heard of Driving Miss Daisy? Carting Miss Courtney.
Courting Miss
Carting Miss Courtney.
It should be courting
I
Miss
was going to call it I was going to call it Courting Miss Courtney, but I think that's what it's going to be called next week. And this week he's been carting her about, hasn't he?
Caught before the
But
horse.
is she taking him for a ride? Yeah, that's what I have to say.
I don't want to know.
Right, then we got the bromance story. I'm pretty sure this Brian and Mary story was a thing at the beginning of the year, and I might have called it bromance there, so I didn't bother thinking of anything else for that. Then I've got.
To look at the screen now.
Oh, well, you can if you want to, because that one's not very good. I've got Banged Up Bolton for Reese in Prison, or I've also got Reese in Prison.
No.
Reese in Prison. Yeah, he didn't even appear this week.
Recent.
No.
Arrest.
No. And then we got the bit of the Poor Paulie Paul. This is the longest we've ever taken going over the storyline titles. Poor Paulie Paul and the Damon Child. Right. I'm going to start off with the Spider storyline, and my gosh, wasn't Monday's Coronation Street a steaming pile of something?
Wasn't it an episode?
It was an episode. It was.
That was the episode that was.
Yeah.
There was never a more of an episode than that.
I honestly went into this week's Coronation Street not knowing that Spider was leaving, not knowing at all, but I'd been theorising it and building it up in my head and everything, and I even said on last week's podcast, didn't I bet that Monday he goes, and although I wasn't completely right on that, he had made his intentions clear by the end of Monday's episode. But the manner in which he was dispatched, there was a choice made there.
I think I've had one person say they thought it was really good.
I think somebody said that as well. I can't remember who it was, but the social media was particularly aflame with criticism of Monday's episode, wasn't it?
It was scathing.
Yeah. So let's see what happened first, and then maybe we can try and break down about what just didn't work so well. And to be fair, I'm going to say that Wednesday's helping of this story did an awful lot to fix the mess that Monday had made. I just
can't work out what happened.
I'll tell you what happened,
right.
Then we talk about it.
Okay.
Right. So, Monday, obviously, Leanne has been up all night wondering about poor Toyah. She's been banged up in that van since Friday. It's gonna be awfully hot and sticky and smelly in there, I tell you. Nick's been asleep. He just comes into the living room first thing on Monday's episode going, "Blimey, Leanne, you've been awake all night." "Yes, my sister has been kidnapped by a crazy gun woman." Well, I assume she's got a gun, I don't know.
Just the only one who seemed to remember this has happened.
I know. And anyway, Nick says, don't worry, it's all going to be all right. Spider turns up and says, "Oh, we've still not found her, but I reckon that the woman who's got her is called Maggie." So the story is that he busted her husband a while back for heroin dealing, and then all the fellow druggies ganged up on him and murdered him, and now Maggie blames Spider for her husband's death. And there was a bit later on in the episode where she's talking and said, "I trusted you, Spider," and it feels like he managed to worm his way into her life and his life.
This was a direct result of him being an undercover policeman, but equally also very much down to the fact that he's decided to jack it in for like 3 months to just parade around where he was already an undercover police officer, being just a boyfriend of somebody.
I mean, has he been to work? I don't know.
He
Literally
wasn't-
nobody knows what. All these, he's been going to chili contests and
Well, you know,
standing in the background of a couple of scenes if you're lucky.
our next door neighbour, he is actually, I don't know what his actual job description is, but he's actually a marine biologist, right?
It's true.
He
We haven't
actually
seen the
is.
certificate, and I know marine biologist.
Sounds made up, but he really is, and he goes
He's
away.
called Dr. Ken Palmer.
And he is Irish. He goes away for like weeks and months at a time, but then when he comes back, he gets that much off. So maybe because Spider's been undercover for like, I don't know, a year, pretending to be Griff's friend. Maybe he gets a year off.
Maybe.
Well, he was working 24/7, wasn't he, before?
Yeah, I guess
He was on
so.
call the whole time.
I don't know how these things work.
Well, no, you don't. You don't know because you don't get paid for the work you do, but some people actually do. And they
Anyway.
get compensated too.
So
Time off when they work really hard.
So we now know the background of why Spider reckons that Toyah's been banged up. So
No,
cuts
she
to
hasn't been banged up.
banged up in a van, innit? So Maggie goes into the van. She goes and sees her, gives a bit of water to Toyah, and Toyah's like, "Just what you want,
She's
what
like
you
a little
want."
hamster, isn't she? Getting, you know, those bottles with the little...
Yeah. Anyway, what do you want? And Maggie's like, "The only thing I want is justice."
Good job she was wearing
And
black.
then we find out she's got a gun, so automatically escalates, doesn't it? Here,
Yeah. I want justice and I've got a gun.
I miss the days when a gun showed up on Coronation Street, and it was
What?
like, "What, a gun? This is."
Shocking.
Yeah, and now the way this was going, it was just like, oh, of course she's got a gun. Why not? Hasn't she got a gun? It's only been 5 minutes, it seems, since the last gun on Coronation Street. I can't remember when it was. It when they did have a bistro hold up earlier this year, didn't they? Do you remember when Sam was cowering in the bistro when Damon's associates were around there? Remember?
Not really.
And that's the problem. The more things that the more times you put guns in, the more times you try and shock the audience to it, the more it's just like, oh, I forget.
I know, this does feel a bit like a jumping the shark moment, unfortunately.
It really did feel a bit like that. And
you know, so Toyah's been in the van. Has she been in there overnight or all weekend, do you think?
who knows? It's the
Good
same
job she's
thing.
got black trousers on, isn't it?
Very good job. Yeah. She might have felt the call of nature while she was in there.
She loves nature, that's good.
Oh yeah, okay, fine.
She can create a lovely rushing waterfall.
Anyway, so Leanne heads off to the police station where she has a go at Spider and Swain for not doing anything. But then Spider gets a text message that from Maggie saying, I'm at the waste ground or something. You know, the place where the
teenage
teenage wasteland that they like to
Right.
use for all these exciting offset shenanigans.
It's not that offset though, is it?
Barely.
Okay, so this was one of the if you hadn't already been tipped off that this was a bit of a lackadaisical storyline, from the fact that we never got to see Toyah being bundled into the van by this woman. Why would she go with her? They're both the same size. I guess she's got a gun. How did she get... What was the fight? Why didn't we get to see a cool fight between Maggie and Toyah?
It was supposed to be just like
A mystery.
Spider
Was
and,
it a mystery?
Leanne
No.
getting back Friday's
It didn't
episode
work.
and finding the blood spatters and the broken plant pots and everything.
It didn't work because nobody cared. And then today, on Monday, the stupidity of having a man who's... this wasn't even his last job as an undercover policeman. You're supposed to believe this happened a while ago, right?
Mm.
This has happened long enough ago that he was undercover, got back out of being undercover, had at least one more job, and in the meantime, this man has been brought to justice in a court case, so it's got to be at least a year or so, and then been murdered. And then enough time for Maggie to work herself up to deciding to get revenge.
Yeah.
He's still got her name on his phone under Maggie. Why hasn't he changed his number? Why has he got her name in there as Maggie?
Well, I mean, from the way
When you
Maggie
have,
speaks to him later, she's like, "Oh, I thought we were friends." So I guess that
Why has he got friends from when he was an undercover heroin dealer on his phone when he's supposed to be an undercover...
Well, maybe he doesn't
white
have very
supremacist.
many real friends in real life, so he just builds up a collection of
Imagine
them from
how
all
many
his
people he
all his
knows
undercover people.
from all of his undercover work. How many people he has to meet, and he's only got one Maggie in there. You'd think she would be like Maggie with like a little needle and like a skull and crossbones or something.
You can have a needle emoji, can't you?
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, so Maggie's told him to
do
go
you
to
not
the
think
wasteland.
That's dumb?
I
That she's texting like, she's like, hi, Maggie here.
remember me.
Do you remember when my husband died because of you? He doesn't even have to get filled in on that. He's like, yeah, this is definitely the woman I thought it was going to be. I added her name into my phone because I thought that she was the one that that's the only way it makes sense. He like, oh, I think it might be Maggie. I better put a number in my phone in case. Did you try to ring her up yourself? Did you try to call her? You had her number in your phone and she texts you to let you know she's kidnapped Toyah.
What?
You didn't go, I better take a bit of initiative here and contact her myself because I've got her number.
How would that phone call go? Hi Maggie, it's me, Spider. Do you remember me?
How are you doing?
Have you got Toyah? You seen Toyah lately?
How do you think it would go?
Have you?
How do you think it would go? Ring ring. All right, listen here. Have you got my girlfriend? That's how it would go. And be like, all right, how you doing? Can I stop you there? I'm not really interested. I want to know where my girlfriend is.
However, let's forget about that.
Okay.
He knows where she is now, so he gets there.
I'm very good at letting things go.
He gets to the wasteland where Toyah's banged up in a van, and luckily he's got his emergency pliers with him to help free her, and also luckily Maggie is nowhere to be seen at this point.
We didn't. No. You've jumped ahead quite a lot, haven't you? Spider gets a text from Maggie saying,
I've said that.
Here's my location.
Yeah.
Don't follow me.
I literally said that. That's what we were just talking about.
And she also sends a photo.
Oh yes, there was a photo. I didn't mention that, did I? That was brilliant. Her like doing a selfie face with a gun. Like she looked like out of Charlie's Angels or something. Yeah. And Toyah was there in the background with a hostage face on. Oh my god.
Toyah's in the background. She knows that she's having a photo taken of her as a hostage, and she's like, yeah. No, you didn't tell me when you were taking it. Do it again. I blinked. Oh no, you've got to do it again, Maggie, because I look dead. Take it again with my eyes open.
So, as I was saying,
Spider... And also, you don't have a picture of today's newspaper. That's stupid.
Could have been taken any time, couldn't
exactly.
it?
She could already be dead. So, Leanne goes and tells Nick what's happened.
Oh yeah.
And then she says, Spider's gone by himself. And I'm worried because I'm the only one who knows. Then Spider gets to the van because...
No, Spider gets to the van. He starts untying Toyah with his emergency pliers. He's just got a whole array of tools in his jacket pocket for any undercover situation that might arise.
Why would you not have like a Swiss Army knife or something?
Or a gun of his own? He's
What do you hang on? A gun of his own? He's like, Toyah, hold your hands up. I'm gonna try and shoot the ropes off. I've only got 6 bullets.
He doesn't need a gun. He probably can sling web like Spider-Man. He should have grabbed Toyah and then Spider-Man swung his way out of there. But they're out in the middle of nowhere, so there's nowhere for the web to attach. That's why.
The only thing that Spider-Man can't do is untie people with his webs.
Yeah,
and then make it worse.
Yeah, let me see if I can. Oh no, sorry, Toyah. You're gonna have to stay here. You're on your own, love. Anyway, he's in the middle of untying her, and then Maggie comes along and points the gun at him, and he's like, "Oh, sorry, Maggie, for what happened. But it wasn't me who killed your husband, was it?" And Maggie's like, "You just used me to get to John. That's my husband, by the way. I thought we were friends, and I don't want you dead. I want you to suffer. Say goodbye to Toyah." So her plan is that she's gonna shoot Toyah in the head while Spider's there, so he can watch his beloved veggie lasagna cooking friend die.
It's not her friend. They're not friends. Yeah.
And then so we next see them down on their knees outside the van,
and of course everyone at home's going, it's not Corrie, is it?
Yeah.
Executing people in a teenage wasteland on a Monday afternoon. It's not really Corrie.
So, and then Spider leaps up and says, he's come up with a plan now.
This is awful.
I don't even really love Toyah, not like you love John.
She's got stinky
I'll move
farts.
on.
What's all that aubergine?
Oh yeah, I'll move on. Don't shoot her. It won't make any difference. Like nice try, Spider.
If you really cared, you wouldn't say anything, would you?
Yeah.
You go, it doesn't bother, whatever.
So he gets right in her face and says, "Yeah, your husband was a scumbag heroin dealer, and I'm glad he's dead." He goes to grab the gun and says, "Toyah, run!" So Toyah's
kneeling there, going, "Oh well."
I suppose I better leg it then.
Then.
She runs away, and we kind of track Toyah for a bit. There's a gunshot off scene, and Toyah freezes. Turns around and sees Spiders lying there motionless on the floor. No blood spilling out or anything, he's definitely dead. He's
He's
like...
got his legs curled up.
That's what I was going to say. He's on his back with his legs curled up. He's just there swatting him with a rolled up newspaper just to make sure.
Oh, green stuff's coming out now.
Well, I mean, we know that Teenage Wasteland is right by the canal, isn't it? So she could have just put a giant glass over the top of him.
Tipped him in.
Yeah. But no, she doesn't. More fool her.
She
freaking
won't out.
Yeah. Toyah says, please, let me help him. I won't dob you in. I'll tell everybody that he came at you. Just let me check that he's okay. I'll be your witness. And Maggie says, the witness is the last thing that I want. So she then goes to shoot Toyah. Toyah runs. Another gunshot. She stops, turns around. And Spider's just leapt up and he's there and it's like, whoa. So the last, like, literally 2 seconds before, he was lying curled up on the ground.
But they do that, don't they?
Now, yeah, that's how they get you.
Sometimes they pretend to be dead and you poke them and they come back alive again.
Next thing, he's sprung up, he's shot old Maggie, and he's got a bulletproof vest on, so it's all okay.
Well, that's where he got his pliers from.
Yes, it's like his back utility belt, isn't it? He should have got out the shark spray.
He should have shed his other skin, like spiders do sometimes. Just leave another fake dead spider that's the shell on the floor, and he kind of emerges as a fresh new pink spider with no clothes on, obviously.
That would have made more sense. Yeah. That's all I can say.
Well, I mean, it's not really surprising that he had a bulletproof vest on. I guess because he knew that she had a gun. That's not really surprising to me. That's the only thing that makes any sense in this whole story. Is that he thought about wearing a vest.
Yeah. Okay, so the police have swarmed the place later. DS Swain is there, giving Spider a good old finger wagging for going off on his own, as well as she should.
Every time they do this, don't they?
And then she gives the line of the episode going past Toyah. What was it? Something like, "Oh, well done. I see you kept this one alive, Mrs. Habib." Quite funny.
Can you imagine, right, how much trash talk goes on at the police department against Spider going out with Toyah? Yeah. Imagine how much they take the mick out of him and rib him about this. You wouldn't be able to look him in the eye, would you? You'd be like, this woman was in here like not that long ago for murdering somebody else. Are you crazy?
I know. It's like Craig and Faye, wasn't it, when he was dating her and she was in. But Toyah was exonerated, so
she didn't get found.
Didn't do nothing apparently,
guilty.
According to the law. Good old Lady Justice. So anyway, Spider at this point is musing that maybe he's not cut out for this line of work.
What line of work is this supposed to be?
Undercover policing.
It wasn't undercover policing when Toyah got kidnapped.
No, but he was going all James Bond about it. It's all, painted with the same brush.
I wish he'd done a forward roly-poly.
Right, they're in hospital
it's probably
later.
Action.
They're in hospital. Leanne's having a moan at Spider for putting Toyah in a position like this. Toyah's like, Spider's not to blame here, just like you once, Leanne, for what Harvey did. And actually, if you kind of weigh up the amount of trouble that's been brought onto the street by Toyah versus the amount of trouble that's been brought onto the street by Leanne and her family, then, she hasn't got a leg to stand on, has she, really?
The unfortunate thing about Leanne is that even when she's right, though, she's just insufferable, isn't she?
Oh, yeah.
But I will say that Toyah just did seem incredibly okay with the fact that she was kidnapped because of Spider's undercover police work. Well, she's like, it's not his fault. I'd be like, I would have a word with, if that was you, I would have a word with you about it. I'd be a bit cross. I'd say something. I wouldn't be like, oh no.
Well, she just wants to stand up to her sister.
She's being far too nice about it, I thought.
She loves him. She said anyway, look, don't worry about it.
The other thing I want to say is she didn't seem that bothered again that she'd just been kidnapped.
And what's she supposed to do? She's no Alia. She just gets kidnapped.
Oh, that's true.
Gets a gun shoved in her face. Gets on with life. Alia, we'd be still hearing about this in 6 months down the line. Toyah moves on.
So I was like, Leanne, I cannot talk to you. I've got to go to the shoulder volunteers to get some support for my kidnapping. So don't speak to me. I need my support group.
Anyway, she's thinking of quitting the. Toyah says, look, don't worry about it. Spider's thinking of quitting the police, and Spider says, oh, not actually. Idiot Spider. That was at the flat later, wasn't it? Anyway, so it transpires that Spider has decided that he's not going to quit the Force after all, and he explains to Toyah.
Oh, hang on, no, you've missed another really cringe
It's just so
bit
exciting.
where,
I'm just
I know this was
skipping ahead.
actually interesting to watch because of how cringe it was. But Nick and Leanne both having a go at Toyah like she was their teenage daughter who had a naughty boyfriend, going, "We think it's best if you don't bring Spider around her anymore. He's caused far too much trouble."
To be fair, they do have Sam to think about. But to be honest, if Sam had been there, he would have clocked Maggie round the head with a telescope and it would have been all sorted before Spider had even got there. So
it was just incredibly cringe watching a grown woman being told by her sister that her police officer husband is too naughty. not husband, but husband to be.
As good as. Common law.
I just thought that was so cringe.
I know. So Spider said, "No, I don't think I'm gonna leave being a copper." Actually, he tells Toyah because they're alone later on. All this drama has made me realise the world's still a dangerous place, and what I do is making a difference. And he's like, "I'm the only person that can save the world from all these bad guys like Maggie."
Yeah, like Maggie. Honestly. It feels like she was in luck almost every moment up until she got clocked by Spider. She seems to have got away with so much. Why wasn't Toyah trying to attack her and stuff?
Well, who knows?
She just seems really lucky. I don't think she's a criminal mastermind, is she?
No, I just love the fact she's called Maggie as well. They were talking in tonight's Coronation Street about who's ever heard of any big business moguls called Darren. And they couldn't think of anyone. But yeah, who's ever heard of
a criminal called Maggie?
Although, yeah, Maggie Simpson did shoot Mr. Burns as well.
Don't give it away.
Sorry.
Also, in
Spoiler
The Walking
for
Dead,
25 years ago.
Maggie is pretty hardcore.
Oh yeah, she is, isn't
like
she?
her. Maybe. So maybe that's why she's called Maggie. What would you call her then?
I don't know because
What's a scary name?
Gemma. When I've done something wrong. I don't know. Right, so he says, "Look, Toyah, the planet needs me. I still believe." They try to make it like, you know, back in the day when I used to fight for justice and I wanted to save the world by being an eco warrior and climbing up trees and digging down tunnels. Well, now I just believe, there's nothing wrong with the environment now, but I still believe that I can make a difference by being a policeman. He says, "I'm just wearing different hats." So he's not wearing his knitted bobble hat anymore. He's got his policeman's cap on.
This was sloppy.
And Toyah says, "Look, if you still love me, you need to make our world a better place. Me and you, not the..." And Toyah said, "Look, I can't believe this isn't a simple decision for you. We're engaged to be married, and you're saying, oh, I'm going to choose my job over me." And he says, "Look, yeah, because I'm finally making an impact like I always wanted to. Don't make me choose." And so she's like, "Fine, I'm going to choose for you. There's no point us carrying on if you can't pick me over your career." Mm-hmm. I don't want to throw this away, but I need to see with somebody who doesn't think twice about putting me first.
Yeah, good.
And they kind of get to a position towards the end of the episode where they realise that this is pretty much the end of the road for them. Mm-hmm. Spider says, "Well, you know, when I came back and saw you, I thought I was getting a second chance of happiness." And Toyah says, "You were.
You were, and you blew it." Right, okay.
Look, Spider.
The logic makes no sense here, because how did Spider manage to turn this entire scenario into the most logical thing for me to carry on being a cop, right? Because his idea, he believes in justice, does he? Does he think that John, who's Maggie's dead husband, did he get justice as a result of Spider's actions? No, because he was murdered. Because it was a direct result of what Spider had done.
I wonder how guilty Spider feels for what happened to John.
He didn't seem to give two craps, did he? He was like, he was a drug dealing scumbag. Okay, so does he deserve to die for that? Not in this country, he doesn't. It's not a capital offence, is it?
John should have had a harder name as well, like
John.
Maggie and John.
Yeah, next door neighbours, Maggie and John just coming round to give us some heroin.
But you know, when they teach you about drug dealing at school, it's not just the tough skinheads that are doing it. It could be anyone. It could be that little old lady that's walking down the street. It could be a drug dealer. So yeah, Maggie and John. Why not?
Did Maggie get justice as a result of his actions? No, she suffered because of the justice system, didn't protect her, didn't protect John from the consequences of, that it wasn't justice that he was murdered, didn't protect Toyah, and didn't protect Spider from Maggie coming after him. No. How can he then go, oh, the system that I'm involved in, which is caused...
Another job well done.
It does, it's like, well, I feel like it, yeah, another tick in the box for me, Spider. Another,
yeah.
And like
I think
another,
I'm going to have a nice salad to celebrate.
Another medal on me old hoodie.
Yeah.
It doesn't make
do you think he gets a little extra rainbow bead for his necklace every case that he cracks?
Maybe, yeah. It's like the Meisters in Game of Thrones getting new link on their chain. Honestly, this whole thing should have made him go, this has made me realise that being an undercover policeman actually causes misery, pain and suffering. I don't feel like I'm bringing anybody to justice. If anything, I'm making it worse. I'm going to quit and, if they wanted to get rid of him, they should have made him disillusioned or do what I suggested, which I know was cliche, but at least it was logical. Sometimes cliches are cliches because they make sense. He should have gone, I don't want you to get in danger again. What if Griff gets out? What if any of the other... What if there's some more people in the network? They were thinking last week that it could have been an undercover white supremacist for a little bit. There are still people lurking everywhere who could come and attack Toyah and Spider, but his reason for not wanting to continue the relationship is that he's too good of a policeman.
And that all just flies in the face of all evidence. And
yes.
Sorry, I think...
I think it was a lucky...
I said, when he came back and it was like, Spider's an undercover policeman, I was like, okay, let's see where this goes. But now the storyline has come to a conclusion.
It was pointless, it's silly, and it was a mess.
I'm not as anti the idea as lots of other people out there, but...
There were so many ways to have made this make more sense.
There are better ways that he could have been brought back.
He shouldn't have been brought back as an undercover policeman, number one. That was... that was a bad idea from the beginning. And it also boggles my mind that we're going through a period of time where there is actually a genuine... And, Spider came into the show during the height of the eco-warrior protests in the 90s. That is having its moment again. This is in the news almost every day. These Just Stop Oil people, causing havoc and people getting annoyed with them. And whatever you think about it doesn't make any difference. This could have been
Hottest Earth Day on record the other week.
This could have been a really interesting way to revisit Spider. He could have got himself in conflict with the residents of the street by doing just what the Just Stop Oil people were doing. They could have had a really interesting discussion between some of the people. They could have had, an incident on the street where somebody had like we've seen in the news, an ambulance can't get through because he refuses to move, and it's his principles, and he's saying, I don't care about this individual person because I care about the planet and the 7 billion people who are going to suffer, and all of those talking points and all of the other counterpoints, which would be, why are you bothering me and not Elon Musk and Richard Branson, who are causing far more damage. There's so much interesting stuff to do with protesting now, as much as there was in the 90s. And what did they do? Made him a policeman.
The thing is, I really, honestly, genuinely did enjoy the racism storyline. I like Max, I like Spider, I found it an interesting type of story. It's a little bit different. I thought, all the stuff with Max being indoctrinated, watching those videos. Griff was a very charismatic character. I know it went off with a bit of a minor bang with Alia in the van and everything, but on the whole I enjoyed that story, which is why, even though I had my reservations about him being an undercover cop, I could sit back and watch it because I'm enjoying this story. But now that's over, the whole story's over, I'm definitely on your side thinking I kind of wish it was another character that they had given that to, and then they could have freed Spider up to do this. I'm wondering, what came first? The idea to have a story about an undercover cop infiltrating a far-right group, or the idea that let's bring Spider back? If they came up with a far-right idea first, and then they thought, who would be perfect to be in that story? What about Spider? No, that doesn't really make sense. Or did they say, you know what? Imran's dead. Toyah's going to be he's going to need somebody to cozy up to now. Let's bring Spider back for a bit. Okay, what's the story? let's have him be an undercover, like whichever way around you look at it, it doesn't really make sense.
Nope. If they were going to bring back somebody, that's the other thing to consider is they might have gone, I think it'd be a really cool twist if we had an ex-Corrie actor come back as their character, but it's undercover, and you don't really know, what they're up to. And then they went, who's available? And then they selected
Martin Hancock's there, yeah.
Why not? Why on earth? Why the heck? We know that she's around.
Who?
Thelma Barlow.
Yeah, well, we find out more about that later in the cabin section.
Old Mavis could have come back as an undercover, supremely white supremacist because of her hair. How cool have that been? Mavis pretending to be a racist.
Or
Do you
Moira.
not think?
Or Moira, I'm going to say.
Moira would be really
She'd
good
be
at
awesome.
it.
Anyway.
Right, that's not the end of the story.
That's not the end of the story. That's not the end of the ranting about it, I'm sure. But we must get on to Wednesdays, which, like I said earlier, it fixed a lot of the bad taste that I had in my mouth after Monday's episode.
Was just
By this time, I was like, he's going. My prediction was right. I'm really, really sad because despite all of this, I really, really, really do love Spider as a character. I love Martin Hancock. I love Spider. I love the little warm, fuzzy feeling it gives me when I think back old retro-y. What's it called? Nostalgia for their relationship in the 90s. The fact that then when they got together, she was just a teenager, so they were kind of young lovers. I know that he's 10 years her senior and everything, but their romance really warms the cockles of my heart, and that's why despite everything, it's like I'd have her Spider back in a heartbeat, and I'd bear him the character no no ill will.
I want him to come back.
He's been put back in a dodgy
Very
situation.
Odd. I want him to come back next year and be like, "What do you mean, undercover policeman? I think the gas has been left on round here. That didn't happen. That's silly."
No, he should just say, "Actually, I'm still an activist, but I'm an undercover activist, pretending to be an undercover policeman, pretending to be a racist." God, now I can finally tell you, Toyah.
It goes really deep. I would love that. This is what wasn't one of those. That was one of the things I said when he came back as an undercover policeman. So many people were saying this is stupid. It makes no sense, and I was defending this because I was saying, look, there are loads of avenues they can go down for it to make sense. And I was totally willing to give them a shot at making this logical, and I think they blew it, honestly. But yeah, being an undercover activist as an undercover policeman, that would have been so cool. Imagine if he'd come in with his he's got his one jacket on, and then he pulls it off, and underneath he's got like a Just Stop on, and he pulls that one off, and then he's got like a swastika, and he pulls that one off, and then he's got like a polar bear looking sad or something. Yeah.
Anyway, Wednesday. Must move
We have
on.
to get on with it.
So, Toya's pretty down at the beginning of the episode because she thinks she thinks that it's over between her and Spider. She's maybe spoken to him for the final time.
We didn't know if he'd actually gone on Monday.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, it could well have been that final conversation on Monday is like, anyway, I'm off now, Toyah. That's the last you'll see of me. Especially because I'm convinced that Monday is often a day for characters leaving. I don't know whether that holds water, but anyway, Leanne and Spider meet up in Victoria Gardens. So Leanne's probably maybe she's feeling a bit guilty for having to go at Toyah the other day, but she decides that I'm going to try and get them together to have one final conversation before he goes. And she's like, look,
why is he still there? He's just sitting in the gardens.
The trams are, fairly irregular from Weatherfield, let's say. So he says, look, I don't want to leave, but I have to. And she says, but look, I know you're not one to back down from your cause, but please have one final chat with our Toyah so that you can end on a positive note. So Leanne goes back home and says, so Toyah, had any word from Spider recently? No? And look, Toyah, just getting a text. Oh, it's from Spider. Isn't that a coincidence? And Toyah's well suspicious that Leanne's been stirring something here. But she says, yeah, it's from Spider. He wants to meet up. Okay, I will have a meet-up with him because I am not hiding from him. So Spider comes round the flat. Toyah's got his stuff bagged up, hands him back the engagement ring. Oh, she's still got plenty of other rings on her finger, though, so my fingers won't get cold. And she's Is that what happens? I don't
Yeah,
know.
you do. You need to cozy them up.
And see, Toya's a little bit annoyed that Leanne stuck her nose in, but oh well, it did give them
They
the
both do it to
opportunity
each other.
for a final chat.
They both do it to each other. They've got no legs to stand on.
Yeah. So they go outside, and thank goodness that this scene happened. It wasn't perfect, but
this was actually sweet.
This was touching.
Yeah, this
for
was
us lifelong Spider and Toyah
This should have been how it was
we
all the way through.
appreciate this. So Spider's like, I wish I could have been the person you wanted me to be. That I may be only going to have this job for another 5 years or so more, and then I can retire, and then maybe we can get back together. And he starts to tear up, and
killed.
he gives her a little spider brooch, doesn't he? He's got a box with a little special silver spider brooch in, and they hug and they tell each other they're going to miss each other, and it was really, really sweet. There's over the course of the last few weeks, there's been lots of Toyah, I've always loved you, and you've been the only one for me, and everything, and it's all that kind of stuff. It was all very lovely, and it doesn't drag on for too long.
It was a very nice scene.
Toyah knows that she needs to make the break here, otherwise, they'd just be hugging there by Friday's episode. So she turns around, walks away, leaves him there at the tram station, and she's like, wobbly lip time, and that's it.
Very well acted.
It was very well done.
Of course.
Yeah, I mean, Georgia Taylor, even though she didn't have the best material to work with this week. She's
done the absolute best with this.
I believed she was scared about being locked up in the back of a van.
She was perfect all the way through. It's just the scenario was, and the script at times was bizarre.
Yeah, I mean,
I've
got many problems with this. I think part of it was the fact that it came out of nowhere. These are two characters that we'd barely seen anything from in the last 5 months. Toyah would maybe show up for a couple of scenes serving drinks at the bistro. Spider would be in the background of random scenes. And then you go from that, it's like 0 to 60, isn't it? In 2 episodes, and all of a sudden there's this unconvincing hostage situation, and we're supposed to care about them. And yes, I obviously care about Toyah, but I know a lot of other people don't, which makes it worse, because people were watching it going, I'm not even bothered about Toyah. I don't, I think she's generally an admired actress and a fairly liked character if she's given something good to do.
Yeah.
Like, a year ago when she was grieving over Imran, fantastic, everybody loved her. But I don't think they were too bothered about her being banged up here. But just to go to it so quickly, and it's ramping up for the sake of, hey, everybody, there's something huge happening here. Let's have everybody talking about it, and really relying on over-the-top spectacle and bombastic, tense hostage situations when...
It was odd. It's like a fever dream.
All of this could have been missed out, and they could have had more conversations. They could have had more chats. They could have had more just him deciding that he needs to go to this job down south.
Trust your actors and trust your characters, and make scenarios that people can relate to, because this happened in 2 days. No, 3 days, because it was Friday last week. Nobody else on the street noticed. Did anyone know that Toyah was kidnapped? No.
Yeah,
Did we see anybody going, oh, have you seen Toyah? Oh my God. We saw them speak to Sam in the bistro.
There might have been one or two of the characters.
How does Sam feel about this?
Do
you not think that Sam had this massive hang up and complex about bad people doing bad things, and he didn't understand why they did? He seems to have brushed off the fact that his aunt was kidnapped. Right under, literally, he could have been him. Don't you think he'd be freaked out? Somebody was shot. His mum was killed with a gun. Then this woman that he's been living with was kidnapped by somebody with a gun. Has he got anything to say about it? No, because he was playing chess. Are you kidding me?
I'd have liked to have had Sam have a conversation with Spider about his decision to stay or leave or whatever.
That could have been a really good catalyst for Spider realising... That actually would have been brilliant. You could have had Spider going, he's going to jack it in. He's going to go and tell Swain to shove her job up her bum because he can't do it anymore because of Toyah. Then he bumps into Sam, and Sam goes, I heard you save Toyah from the bad lady. She had a gun. My mum was murdered by a gun. We need people like you to help, that it may be a bit trite, I don't know. But it makes way more sense than him going, oh, from this pile of crap that happened on Monday, it inspires me to be a policeman even more than normal. Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. It was...
Having Sam as the catalyst to make Spider want to protect people.
Yeah.
It would have made more sense in this.
Or even, like, we didn't get to see anything of Spider with Max, did we? And Max was in this week's Coronation Street. Did he have anything to say about the fact that his old chum
There was a conversation with Spider and Max at one point about...
What, this week?
No, not this week, but, like, not that long ago. But you're right. Lauren, and also Lauren and Max are the ones that tipped Maggie off. Nobody's talking,
she was, wasn't she? And
nobody's talking about that to them. No, they gave this no room at all.
And the thing is, a hostage situation could be exciting, but this one wasn't, and it was
weren't worried about it.
The script didn't build tension, the direction didn't build tension, the fact that it was another like bright sunny day in July or May, whenever this was filmed, that lacked any tension. The fact that it was on the same old wasteland as they always use, and then like in my head I was thinking, oh, the Corrie Studios are just around the corner there.
I don't know that's their fault.
No, it's not. That's me, but it all built up in my brain to like, this situation is not at all dangerous. I knew that Toyah wasn't going to get killed. I didn't know whether Spider would do, and I'm glad that he wasn't, but I don't know, would it have been better if he had been? I think a lot of people would say yes,
no,
but I'm glad he made it out with his life, because if he had been killed, then maybe selfishes me, it would have been very sad, and then we'd have had a long period of Toyah moaning, and grieving.
It's hard to tell the difference.
so I don't want that.
Well, the other thing I'm annoyed about this is that it's left Toyah in limbo again.
Yeah.
What's the purpose of her character? She should be one of the most central characters on the show. She's a legacy character and she's a bloody good actress.
Yeah, and she's been just left adrift.
She's sidelined. She works in the bistro now. That does. I mean, why? Because everybody gets put in a service job just because they're looking at conversations.
It's like Shona at the cafe. I mean, she does get a lot to say because that's a very overused set at the moment. But Julia Goulding is such an asset to Coronation Street, and all they're doing with her is making her butter her rolls and occasionally have a snarky remark with David.
The thing is about it though, Shona's character suits that role. Toya's character doesn't really suit working in a bar.
No, not particularly.
And even though she was the landlady. but
well, I think if we do, the more we remember about that, the more we'll think that she is not suited to the bistro, actually. I'm
just really frustrated that this is what they're giving people. I think we need to put the brakes on doing any more of this bombastic stunts. It wasn't even a stunt, really. It was just gimmicky. That's the trouble. I don't like these gimmicks.
It did just feel gimmicky. If you're going to build up to it, and if you're going to do the proper direction, and if you're going to set it at night, and if you... all of this, then it works. But if it's just like a throwaway hostage, just over 2 episodes...
It's been months of this now, though, hasn't it? From the very beginning of the year, just... Yeah,
you got... Yeah, you're bombing your van, Nina in peril in the lake.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's no peril here at all. It's just a series of...
People are put in perilous situations and they generally survive.
We're not
unless
worried.
you're Rufus or Teddy. So keep it with the dialogue, keep it with the conversations, because the final scene in this episode showed that it still works. That sort of stuff is it can be a strength still.
Play to Coronation Street's strengths, yeah. Play to the fact that these characters have a 20-year history.
Yeah.
Play to the fact, or 30-year, whatever.
Yeah, 20.
Play to the fact that these are good actors and they can perform scenes, and also you've got great writers who can do fantastic dialogue. Some of the stuff some of the lines on Monday, oh man.
Yeah, I know. And then it got my goat that they, over seemingly nothing, he chose his job over Toyah.
Yeah.
I just don't believe that character would do that.
No, it was a betrayal of the character. This return of Spider was a betrayal of his character from start to finish, and they did as best as they could. But the entire scenario was a silly idea to begin with, and it was botched execution.
I mean, you could well say that if you look back at Spider's history with Toyah, a long time it was her pursuing him, right in the early days. I'm talking like late 97 and through 98. And there were times when he went off and left her in Weatherfield. And when when she left her final stint in 2003, he just, happened to be coming back to visit Emily. Speaking of which, I can't believe we've had Spider back for a year and not a single mention about how Emily Bishop is getting on. Seriously. That could have been a throwaway line in Wednesday's episode. Like, I think I'm going to go and stay with my Auntie Em for a few weeks.
I don't mind if she gets kidnapped by a drug dealing
Auntie Em can look after herself, I tell you. Anyway, and then when they left together in 2003 to go and live happily ever after, obviously something went wrong between then and Toyah's return in 2015, and we still don't really know what happened.
They haven't filled out any gaps.
But Spider has, and what I'm saying is, Spider in the past has shown that he doesn't need Toyah and he can leave her and get on okay. But despite all that, I just picking this particular job over her when they just got engaged, and that was the other thing as well. Why did they have to make them get engaged? Was that really necessary?
And also, what happened to his bloody wife and her wanting to divorce him, and that she's not in the country? What happened there? These are just weird additional red herrings or something. Honestly, what a mess.
I'm glad that Spider, I don't think he's like left as a villain or anything. I'm shaking my head at him as he goes for making a really poor choice. But if he were to come back, I don't. It has kind of character assassinated him a little bit. But if he were to come back, and I really hope he does, maybe he will come back in 5 years, like he suggested. I'm not expecting it. But
here's another question. Is he just resigned himself to never having a girlfriend or partner again now? Or is
he's married to the Force, isn't he, now?
But is he, he's saying, I can't, is he going to just, what's the word, put another poor woman through this? Find someone else and put her,
He's got a girl in every web.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that he gave her a brooch, because I'm hoping that we're going to see this.
I'd love her to wear this brooch.
But then again, do you remember how heartlessly she just binned
Imran's ring? Yeah, maybe she'll put Imran's ring back on. She'll just have a moment the next time we see her, which is probably going to be about 6 months' time, where she goes, "Oh yeah, I think sorry, Imran, I just had to leave my senses for a little bit. I was married to you and everything."
How about
she moves on, does Toyah?
How about we get a scene where she opens a jewelry box and she puts the brooch next to the ring, and then she kind of looks up and does this evil smile, and then the theme from Jigsaw movies starts playing, and then we get this clip of how she killed Imran on purpose, and then how Spider got on the tram and she followed him and bonked him on the head with a bottle and killed him as well.
Oh,
then we go back a bit further to when she was in London and she was just bumping off people who went to their drinks bar.
I mean, it's about the only thing I can think of left for the character. I really, really...
And she's just got this box of inexplicable jewellery from, you presume, about 50 men that she's bonked off.
No, I don't want that. I want her to have a sensible, serious, long-running story. She needs to make connections in the street, but I don't really know how.
Do something with Toyah.
I'm out. I have no ideas, but I really love the character, and I hope that Coronation Street can step up to the plate and give her something that she deserves, because she's clearly one of the better actresses that's in the show.
You were absolutely right when you said that this was a monkey's paw wish that we got given here. We wanted more Toyah and we wanted Spider back. We were happy when they came back, and it was the genie was saying, "Oh yeah, how can I screw this up for you? Well, here you go." Did you enjoy that? It wasn't even a full week of action. No. It was it spread over 2 weeks. It went on the front of the soap magazines. It was a big miss, and some of the characters deserve better, honestly. And we need to actually. And it's not like they can't do it in other stories as well. There's the Stephen Reed stuff. I know some people don't like it, but it's genuinely good. On Wednesday,
is good,
some really good scenes.
Stephen Reed is last man standing, isn't he? From our 2022 returnees, got no Wendy, got no Spider, got no Martha. Stephen Reed reigns victorious, but for how long? Gemma, do you want to?
I hope for a very long time.
To remind us what happened this week.
This was a bit of a dramatic week for our Stephen, wasn't it? So on Monday, Elaine's in a snit with him, isn't she?
Yeah.
She's trying to prove that she's an independent woman who don't need no man. So she refuses.
Because he pulled faces at her.
He made a face in the... You know, honestly, is that not normal? But I suppose I'd make faces at you. I don't make it behind your back.
Yeah.
I think that's the problem.
Yeah. I think she just showed me the finger, everybody. This is why we don't do a video podcast, because she thinks you can get away with things like that. That's why I'm putting her on record.
Oh no.
I think if you caught me making a face at you behind
I'd just tell you to bugger off.
Yeah, but
I'd swear at you.
Yeah, you probably wouldn't make me my tea that night either, to be fair.
Well, I don't hold grudges for the next day.
No, not
really.
Usually. Not really.
Depends on what you did. So, well, I mean, she's still mad on Monday. She's not made him lunch. Ooh. She's such a mousy little twit, isn't she?
Yeah, but she stands up for herself on Friday.
Yeah, she does actually.
Respect to Elaine.
Respect. And he's like, come to the bistro for lunch. I don't mind. I don't need sandwiches. He's glad she didn't. She probably makes some weird, like, Marmite and cheese or something. But she says no, she's far too busy descaling the kettle. So...
Which, as you pointed out, and I see a lot of people pointing out online afterwards, probably not the most common thing that's needed up in Manchester when they have lovely soft water.
And they've literally just moved in. Is that not a new kettle?
Well, I don't know.
Did you not clean your kettle before you moved? Dirty scrubber.
Manchester water is lovely. Having a shower in Manchester, you feel the difference.
Soft.
It's like you're being caressed all over, isn't it?
Yes, by angels. So yeah, Stephen's like, oh, I see. I'm sorry. I see you're mad at me. I mean, he's obviously not noticed until now when his sandwiches aren't made. I'm so sorry at the way I behaved about Tai Chi and Jerry. And
he called him Kung Fu Jerry today. That was brilliant.
Loved it. So she accepts his apology, but she seems concerned. Now here's my question. She smiles. He walks off, and then she looks sad. Is that making a face behind his back?
Yeah.
It's a bit, isn't it?
Sad face.
At work, Carla turns up again. Carla just turns up to scare Stephen that she's going to sell the factory at the moment. That's all she does. She tells Stephen a potential buyer's going to come round at lunchtime. And Stephen says, I've got a meeting at lunchtime. And Carla says, well, you need to be there, especially because we want this guy to be the manager. And also, don't mention the fact that his mum killed herself.
Yes. Just shoving it in there in the plot. By the way, Stephen, this guy who possibly might want to buy the factory, his mum killed himself, so don't mention that herself.
Don't bring it up.
Don't mention that. And
I know
Stephen
how
says,
you like to joke about...
Stephen says, I wouldn't have done. I wouldn't have mentioned it if you hadn't reminded me, but now all I can think of is this guy's mum killing herself.
Yep, literally. I heard a thing that's happened to me. I went to games night and they were like, the guy, one of the people, his dad killed himself. And I did say a stupid thing at one point, which I was kicking myself about. So yeah, don't tell me, because I'll probably make an inappropriate joke anyway. But yeah, the awkwardness here. So Stephen calls Elaine to try to reschedule this lunch date that they've organised, and she says, I don't even care, I'm getting my hair done. But she doesn't realise that Audrey's behind her, and she's pretending she's in the salon, and she's not. She
doesn't realise that right at that very moment, Audrey's giving Eileen a fresh new do. More about that later.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, new look Eileen this week.
Yeah, but Audrey's there, and she's hearing...
Oh yeah, she isn't she?
She's hearing Elaine say, I'm in the salon. And then she turns around, she sees Audrey there, and she's like, oh, sorry, I didn't mean for you to hear that, Audrey. How awkward. And Audrey just knows that Stephen's told her that Elaine has got depression. And so she asks Elaine if she's okay, because avoiding social situations is a sign of depression. And she encourages Elaine to open up.
So I thought this was interesting. And I don't think they mentioned it too much, unless I missed it, if at all. But obviously Audrey had her depression storyline last year, didn't she? And the whole Audrey trying to take her own life. So, Audrey is tuned in to what behaviours one might exhibit if one is feeling suicidal.
Back at the flat.
So she just thinks she's the expert of the world now.
Elaine and Audrey are having a chat, and she opens up to Audrey about her worries about Stephen, because he made faces at her the other day. And, if Audrey is sitting there going, look, love, if that's the worst thing, people around here, you've had murderers, serial killers, domestic abusers, rapists, and you think you've got troubles because he made a face.
He's a face puller.
He pulled a face you saw it in the microwave.
So we're not going to be doing a top 5 of top 5 face pullers.
Yeah,
we do with serial killers.
We've never done that before. Audrey says that was probably nothing. What do you mean? Maybe he had something in his teeth. And Elaine says, I think I'm more invested in this relationship than he is. I can't believe it's taken her this long and a face pull for her to work out that this man who's dragged his feet the whole time and he keeps making moon eyes at Jenny
Bradley
is actually not that into it. Like, even you got told this by your own son and you're still just working it out now.
Yeah.
So Audrey says, look, you're overthinking this. Stephen loves you. Anyone can see that. So Audrey then scurries off to the factory to tell Stephen about this meeting, this chat she's had with Elaine, and he's in the middle of his meeting, so he's quite surprised. But they have a little chat, and Audrey tells him, "You're right, Elaine has got depression because you're spending all this time at the factory." And
diagnosis complete.
Yeah, Dr. Audrey retired. So she's at home. She's overthinking everything. She's all by herself, knocking about in this big old house, fancy house. And Stephen says, thank you for telling me. Goes back to the office. The meeting guy's gone to the toilet.
Yeah,
because
he's
mum.
come over all funny about his mum. Was it because Stephen's mum turned? I don't remember. But it was very convenient.
So Carla says to Stephen, things have been really hard for this guy. His dad has got to wait a year because of the suicide, and it's taken this long for them to get their hands on the money because of the will and the insurance and whatever. And Stephen's like, God damn it! I thought you could just get it straight away. Yeah.
So basically, this was the vehicle by which Stephen, who's, I'd have thought would have read the small print, to be honest, discovers that he doesn't just automatically inherit everything that Elaine owns if he makes it look like... No, if it makes it look like she killed herself. Yeah.
Why doesn't he put everything in... isn't it all in both their names?
I don't think so. I can't remember. I don't know.
He needs to bloody get married to her.
Well, yeah, that's the point. He wants to.
All right. Well, he's mad. He goes home. He takes the suicide note, and he, out of his big red metal box...
got one of them.
Yeah, we keep all of everybody we know. We've written a suicide note in their handwriting in there, just in case. Comes in handy.
But same with us. Stephen needs to invest in a proper filing cabinet because
we really need a
those little filing boxes.
They're useless, aren't they?
They're not great. Yeah.
Oh, I'll tell you what. I don't understand why he's relying on that lock, because our lock's been broken for years on that thing. He screws it up. Elaine comes home and she's not very happy about this.
So she says,
are you fulfilled with your life? With me? Well, I'm not. You're never around. You're always in meetings, and even when you are here, you're not really here.
All these Coronation Street men just all going out to work all the time.
I know. And neglecting their women folk in the pursuit of the capitalist regime. Spider could have told you this.
Old Spider.
Yeah. So he says, I'm sorry I've been inattentive, but I do love you and I want to marry you because I think I've got a new plan. And Elaine's like, look, we're going to call this off. I think we should call this off. And he heads out for air. He comes back with an apology bouquet from Preston's Petals, and she's calmed down a bit, but she's still like, I think you prefer your job to me. And Stephen says, look, just because I'm ratty doesn't mean I'm a bully like Jeff. You've got to believe that I do love you. We really should give it a shot. We owe it to ourselves. We should go away for a few days, maybe to the Peak District. And she's like, okay, sounds I like the sound of that. So he books them a holiday from supposedly this Wednesday to Friday. And
it's like a mini break that we're going to go on.
Yeah. And she goes into the bedroom and he takes out his he takes out his red box and he looks at the life insurance policy and he's like, oh honey, don't forget to pack your hiking boots. Those hills can be treacherous. And it's like, I was so excited. I was thinking, he's going to push her off a cliff. He's going to throw her in a ditch. Can't wait.
I was just thinking of Sean and his dentist boyfriend earlier this year, and when Todd was accusing him of his wife, wasn't it? That he supposedly pushed off a mountain. I was like, they're going down that route again. That
was more interesting than...
That was not that interesting.
Okay, well...
That wasn't interesting, that story.
Well, all right, I thought...
But, yeah, I thought that it was interesting that Coronation Street were potentially going to go down that same route, and then maybe... I don't know whether Todd and Sean would have got involved in the story, but we didn't get that far, did we? Location budget didn't allow it. But actually, I think what happened on Wednesdays was better. I would have loved some location scenes and having him push her off, but the thing that I really, really loved about this story this week is it ended up in a very, very, very different position to where it was on Monday. Things moved fast this week, but not so fast that it felt like it was
jarring.
Jarring, and not
illogical.
enough time given to it or anything like that. I'm like, it is very much evolved now, and I'm really looking forward to seeing where it goes next week.
This is why I don't understand some people trying to say that Stephen's story is boring or something. It's not. It doesn't feel like the status quo lasts very long with Stephen. There's always some kind of weird twist. Something happens unexpectedly.
No, the main criticisms I've seen about this storyline are the improbability of the whole thing, and a lot of people don't get on with Todd Boyce's acting style.
Well, I'm sorry, but he's magnificent.
And she'll hear no other word about it.
No more questions. On Wednesday, Stephen tells Elaine he's going to wind down from work once they're back from the holiday. This time next year, he's going to retire. He's going to jack it all in for love. And, oh God, she says, I've got this book of poetry I'm taking with me to the peaks.
Oh yeah, he looks through the book and he finds some particularly apt poems that perfectly sum up his situation. I can't remember what any of them were. There once was a lady called Elaine, whose husband flushed her down the drain.
There once was a lady called Elaine. She was an incredible pain.
Oh yeah, that's better. They went to the peaks.
It lasted all week.
No, yeah. And yeah, I don't know.
And then he pushed her into a drain.
There we go. Well done.
That's still better than anything in that book, probably. Well, who was it? It was a famous... I just don't like poetry. Elaine goes round to see the Platts before the holiday, and they look... Oh, this is when they're going through all photos. I actually enjoyed this. This was really good. Wednesday was a great episode. So they look at the photos, and you've got Sally
another Coronation Street child has a family history project, which seems to be what all of the schools the main schools in Weatherfield run as all of their homework projects. It's like, do a family tree, get your family tree. I don't know, family history,
make a volcano.
Anyway, is it Harry's turn now to do a family?
I don't know, but you've got Gail there with Sally. And who else was there? Elaine. Sarah was there.
Yeah.
And they were all looking through the photos, and I really like this because Sally was like going, "Oh, look how nice, look how young we looked," and Gail was going, "Oh, that was the day that we were in the hospital." And Sally...
Oh yeah, they had a picture of Sally and Gail with David and Rosie, didn't they? As
it
babies.
Was really nice. It was good, and it was a really nice Corrie thing, and it was a logical thing that people do too. People do this, and you look at old pictures.
I'd like to have seen some more photos.
They showed the same picture too many times. They should have had some
It's because they've just got publicity photos, haven't they? They don't have many family snaps.
They could have taken a screenshot of some action and gone, yeah, this was taken by that weird man that follows us around everywhere, filming everything we do. He's still here, so keep it down. Okay, so Elaine's like, oh, can I see some pictures of Stephen when he was younger? Yes, you can, because they're all pictures of Stephen when he was younger.
I was thinking that we might get a picture of actual Stephen Reed circa 1997, but
no,
we didn't. What we got was a kind of fairly clearly photoshopped photograph of him and Gabrielle standing. Was it them standing next to Niagara Falls or something?
Yes,
I don't know.
It was, yeah, something like that.
Yeah, and a youthed Todd Boyce.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm just passing back to you.
So, smoothly done.
Yeah,
So she freezes because she recognises this woman, Gabrielle, but she doesn't know her as Gabrielle.
It's the seagull lady.
It's the seagull lady that she caught a glimpse of when Stephen was talking to her on the laptop and quickly closed the laptop down. So she obviously thinks she's got a great... Well, she does. She's a great memory for faces. I wouldn't recognise her.
Tell you what, she's gonna freak when she sees... You remember that Duncan who's had Sally sent to prison? When she sees his wife, who also bears an uncanny resemblance to Gabrielle. She's gonna be like, what the hell is going on here? Same actress.
Elaine makes an excuse. She has to go to the co-op.
Yes! Is that new?
Name drop.
Do they ever name drop the co-op?
I don't remember
there's a poem for you. They're usually just going off to Fresco's or Devs, but yeah.
Well,
co-op they obviously don't like Argos being shown driven around all the place, and they want more co-op action.
Yeah.
In there.
So she says I've got to go before.
Oh, there's a classic Gemma yawn coming out of nowhere.
I did get up I went to bed at 2 and I got up at 6, so I'm very tired. But I'm okay.
Why'd you get up at 6?
It's because I got my deadline. I had to do my work.
Yeah.
So, she says, I've got to go to the car before we leave, and she goes off as Stephen gets into the car. And she's worked herself up here, hasn't she? She's gone from 0 to 100, really. Well, maybe she's like at a 20. But she's freaking out here. She's terrified. She's running down Victoria Street. She's like Tippi Hedren in Birds. And she bumps into Tim. She's like, it's happening again. It's happening again. Stephen's lying to me. I can't go through this again. Not after Jeff. And meanwhile, Stephen's there going, we're going to the peaks. I'm going to push you off.
He's just sitting in his car, isn't he?
He's sitting in the car and he's kind of
listening
practicing.
to a bit of Canadian music.
Practicing his shove,
a bit of Alanis on there. A little bit of Avril Lavigne, probably.
Push her on the shoulders really hard, or maybe push her more on like the base of her back.
Or do you just trip her up and you might not leave push marks?
Maybe turn her. Maybe she faces me and I push her from the
To be honest,
front.
you know, knowing what Elaine is like, they could probably just go on a particularly high peak and a strong gust of wind would just whisk her away and do the job for her.
Stephen, sorry. I feel like I'm falling. I'm so sorry. Right, so she's freaking out and Stephen's waiting for her. Elaine and Tim get back to the flat and the flat that Stephen and Elaine share, and she starts piecing everything together. She's like, he's been lying about Gabrielle. He told me that she was controlling him. He's got these secrets. He's got this seagull thing, and he said that she was part of that, but I don't know who she was. And he's got this secret red box. Oh my god, this was amazing, because this was like Bluebeard or something, wasn't it? Like this
Bluebeard?
Yeah.
What's that?
This the Bluebeard story where there's a secret room in the house. Do you not know this story?
I've got no idea what you're talking about.
So the story is a French pirate story where this woman, the Bluebeard, he has all these brides, and there's always a room in this keep that they live in, and he's always like, don't go in that room. And every time one of them goes in the room, she discovers all the dead wives and then gets killed and stuck in the room.
So this is her piecing everything together.
But it's also...
I loved it. I was like, oh, well, he's going to be caught already. I didn't go into this week expecting that Elaine was going to...
No, I didn't know this was coming.
Jumped him by the end.
In a parallel to real life too, if you are into true crime like I am, you'll have seen the Long Island serial killer has been unmasked, perhaps, allegedly, supposedly. They've found the guy that they think is the main suspect. And one of the rumours is that there was a room in the house that the wife wasn't allowed to go in. This is exactly the same thing. Okay. And he's a serial killer and he's got a secret red box and she knows it's there. If you had a box and you were like, right, you can't go in, this is a locked box, I'd be like, the hell I can't.
Yeah, but do you ever look in my big red box?
Yeah, I do. So I had to look for it. What was I looking for the other day? You told me to look in it.
I was looking from a DBS or something, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's no secret.
No, but you don't tell me not to do it. You could have any number of secrets anywhere and I wouldn't know because you didn't say, do not open this door. Yeah. As soon as you say, do not open this door, I'll open it. Anyway, so she's like, you can't go in the big red box. And Tim says, I will go in the big red box. And he jimmies it open and they go through everything and they find a joint life insurance
They don't go through everything.
No, they just pick
very
up a bit
handily.
of paper.
The bit that's not very, very carefully hidden right on the top is the piece of paper that they need.
Yeah. And they're like, what? Life insurance for a couple that have a house together? This doesn't make any sense. So, because Elaine says that she doesn't know what this paper is, Tim believes that Stephen is clearly after Elaine for her money. And unfortunately, he is 100% right, which makes me mad. She then gets a text from Stephen saying, I'm coming back to the flat because, I thought we were going on holiday. She can't face him. Tim says, I'll protect you. She decides to sneak out quickly and she goes to number 4 through the conservatory. So she's out of the flat and leaves Tim there. And then Stephen gets home and finds Tim packing Elaine's stuff. And Tim immediately starts on Stephen. He's like, you're never going to see her again. You're never going to lay eyes on her again. We're on to you. We found the photo of Gabrielle and the insurance letter. And Stephen immediately is like,
This was
loses
Stephen's
his
rant,
rag.
wasn't it?
I
this
love
is
this.
a supremely camp rant.
Oh, I love this.
You have no idea who you're dealing with. You're a small man with mummy issues.
Yeah, that's great.
Oh,
he
that
says,
was
he also says,
height of entertainment.
he says, Tim, you're basic.
Oh yeah, he calls it basic.
Brilliant. I was shouting at the television. I was so thrilled. I was just in ecstasy at this scene. It was fantastic. I was like, kill Tim. He doesn't kill Tim, but they do have a scuffle, don't they? Stephen pushes Tim, and then...
Well, Tim
has
goes
a go.
up to him first, doesn't he?
I think, yeah, Tim starts it, and then they have a scuffle, and Stephen gets pushed into the incredibly convenient metal spiral staircase, which makes no sense for it to be in their flat, and he gets bonked on the head, and he's holding his head, and I can't remember if Tim sees blood, but
No,
he
he
leaves.
doesn't. I don't think there's any blood in that scene.
He leaves with Elaine's things, and Stephen's there. And the next time we see him, Stephen's stumbling out of the flats. He's got blurry vision. He's got blood on his hands. He's got blood on his head, and he falls and collapses in the street.
And all the time, me and you are just like, what is going on?
Oh my God! No, Uncle Stephen! So David finds him and calls an ambulance. And Tim gets back, and he knows he's had a fight with Stephen, but he doesn't know anything else.
Yeah.
So Elaine's having conversations, and they're like, I don't know what we're going to do now. But then we leave them to go to see Gail, Sarah and Sally at the Platt's house, talking about Audrey's upcoming birthday party. And this is quite funny too.
They don't know about Stephen yet.
No, they don't know. And they were talking. It was funny because I can't remember who. They were talking about whether you'd like a big fuss. Gail was like, you can't say Audrey wouldn't want a big fuss. Maybe she does want a big fuss. I'd like a big fuss for my birthday. It must be a big birthday coming up then.
For who?
For Audrey.
I thought she had a big birthday last year.
Well, maybe
she had that
every
scene with
birthday's
Claudia.
a big year when you're
Yeah.
old, isn't it? So they're going through more photos, and then David phones up and tells Gail that he's in the hospital with Stephen. So Sally goes to Tim and tells them that Stephen's in the hospital, and they've got no idea, obviously, before now, what's happened, and they both look shell-shocked and admit that, yeah, Tim did fight him, and he pushed him against the wall and he banged his head. And then he left him. And then Elaine's like, oh, Tim, what have you done? And I'm like, yeah, Tim's in trouble now. That's right. Ha, she's on the other foot. I love watching Tim get in trouble. He's such an idiot.
You just always know he's going to be the hero
He's a
in
big
the end,
old
though,
buffoon.
don't you? So
I know,
you appreciate the scenes when
this
he's
this
taken
just
down a peg
is
or
such
two.
a repeat of when bloody Anna Windass took down Pat Phelan, and it was just so frustrating because I didn't like her at all.
I know.
Right, so
But we still know when that scene when Anna gets sent to prison and Pat's going, Aadi attacked.
Yeah, that's right.
Like, yeah.
And he's looking down.
You've been
and
wrongfully in prison.
She's walking down the stairs, and we're supposed to be like, "Oh my God, poor Anna." We're like, "Anna, get to prison."
So yeah,
You're
what
annoying.
were we supposed to be thinking? Were we supposed to be on Tim's side there? Because I just don't know. I think that Corrie is wanting us to be on Stephen's side because this story is from Stephen's point of view, isn't it? Yes, Elaine and Tim and the others are important characters, but this is Stephen's story from his point of view. So naturally, you're gonna want to side with him, and especially because it's so farcical and silly.
Yeah, but Tim's a very popular character, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. So I guess that's why it works here. That you've got this villain who they kind of want you to champion a little bit,
and this
just for the
everyman
laughs.
who's like,
and
brave
popular Tim
and...
is like, whose side do I take? They've picked two good characters for this.
Right, so Sarah and Gail are over at the hospital, and David says Stephen's in surgery because he might have a bleed on the brain, and they're like, "What's happened? He was outside. Was he mugged?" And there was a really funny bit. Sarah Lou was so camp.
Oh yeah, you made me rewind the scene. What was it she said?
She just said maybe he was mugged, but she kind of put her hand on her hip and pursed her lips like
she does a pout. Maybe she's been mugged.
She just looks like she'd been possessed by the spirit of Ina Sharples for a minute there. If you're bored one day, watch that.
And watch that scene.
That
just watch Sarah Louise's
that
lip
very
movements.
small clip was just brilliant. I should take do a gift.
Love your Tina O.B.
Oh yeah, I love all of this. I think this is great. So they're all worried and they don't know what's happened and they can't work it out. So Gail phones up Elaine because she's like, well, we need her here because she's the fiancée. And they don't know what's happened between Stephen and Elaine yet, do they? Only Elaine and Tim and Sally know.
Yeah,
So Elaine's back at the Metcalf going, I can't answer the phone, oh my god, and gets a girl texting going, call me, and then he's in hospital, he's having surgery, and Tim says, it wasn't my fault, it just shoved him and he lost his balance, and Elaine immediately sides with Tim.
Yeah, she knows that Stephen's been a wrong un, and she's gonna support him rather than her fiance.
Well, yeah, she's gonna side with her son anyway, surely.
Yeah, exactly.
So then we get Detective Craig Tinker wearing his suit.
Oh my God.
He's on the case. He's on the clock. He's on the job. He's got a notepad and he's eager to learn.
I'm finding him kind of entertaining. I'm thinking that surely he's being written as being fairly incompetent. Nobody's watching that thinking, God, he makes a great detective. Are they?
I don't know. I can't think that they do.
It is him and his nodding friend, isn't it? They're turning up. DC silent. DC no talk is there because, Craig's got this, everybody. He's
been doing this job
the
for
latest
3.5 weeks
of the
now.
Weatherfield Police Force.
So he's taking the lead on the questioning.
Doesn't somebody? Maybe it was this story. I'm sure it was where somebody says, "Aren't you supposed to get your notebook out now, Craig?" And he's like,
I remember everything in my head. There's loads of space in there. It's completely empty otherwise. So he gets some information about the assault from the hospital, and he starts questioning David about finding.
It was David that tells him to get his notebook out, isn't it?
Yeah. So later on, Craig turns up at number 4. Because they've investigated. Now, they got a crack team on the case here, because this is probably the first time they've ever actually looked at CCTV unprompted on this show. They've seen CCTV of Tim leaving the flat right before Stephen collapsed. And Tim immediately goes, oh, but I didn't really mean it. I only shoved him a little bit. He only bashed his head once. And so Craig's got no choice but to arrest him on suspicion of GBH, grievous bodily harm. So on Friday, Tim's been in the police station all night, and so is Sally, because she's asleep and she's dreaming of... What's she dreaming of? She said something.
Oh,
silly.
I don't know. I didn't pay any attention to it.
So she goes home with him, and again, she seems weirdly pleased to see him. I'd be furious. Also, I wouldn't spend the night there. I can get bent. I'll go home. It's round the corner, Gail.
So I'll remember that next time.
Why would you sit in the foyer of a police station?
No, maybe they brought around the cups of tea and biscuits.
I don't think they do that. Right, so Gail, Sarah and
If you're Sally, you probably want to be listening in to all the criminals that are going on and kind of looking down your nose at all the crims that get brought in overnight.
Don't you usually have the opportunity to look down on so many people at once?
Yeah, exactly.
Gail, Sarah and Audrey at the hospital with Stephen later, and he's still unconscious, but turns out the procedure went well. And Audrey is aghast to hear that Tim's been released, because she's heard about the CCTV footage, and that's all the evidence she needs to know that this horrible oaf of a man is the one that battered her poor, dear, best favourite relative, child, offspring. So she goes to number 4 and she wants to tear a strip off of Tim. She tells him he should be banged up, and Tim says, actually, it's your son who should be in prison. And this is where this whole thing was just so interesting. It was fascinating to see, and I'm sitting here the whole time going, this can't be what brings Stephen down. This is not how this story ends. It doesn't end with Tim finding a bit of paper in a red box. No.
It feels like it's too early for this to be the end, but...
Well, it's also nothing to do with any of the... it's got to be something murdery, that he's going to be caught in the act or something. He's gonna be unmasked as a killer. He can't be unmasked as a fraudster. That's boring.
Well, yeah, exactly.
So all the way through, I'm thinking, how is Stephen going to get around this? This is a bit tricky, isn't it? Because now Tim's telling Audrey, I've got this life insurance policy here, and Elaine doesn't sign it. It wasn't her signature. He's taking this out in her name, and he plans to kill her. And Audrey's like, that's stupid. It's your joint life insurance policy. Maybe it's actually you two planning this. Maybe you are the one that made this policy, and Tim is the one that's trying to kill Stephen to get hold.
Yeah, so that Elaine can get all the money.
I mean, on the basis of the evidence so far that Audrey knows, that makes more sense.
If Stephen hadn't cancelled this life insurance policy at the end of the episode, I was kind of thinking, well, maybe eventually this is where it all ends up, and Stephen ends up dying, as is, the tradition for Coronation Street serial killers, and Elaine gets to retire with £1 million under her belt.
That would be really funny.
But
no, he cancelled it. No, silly. Didn't think ahead to irony, did he?
No.
So, she's having none of it, and she goes off in a huff. She goes back to the hospital and she tells Gail all about this. And Gail's like, that doesn't make any sense. Why would Elaine and Tim try to kill Stephen? That's silly. And so Stephen then, he's in his hospital bed. He immediately starts stirring and waking up, and Audrey jumps. It's like, what happened? Stephen, can you remember? Can you remember?
And we don't get to see what he says.
No. So, next thing we know, Craig and DC say nothing, arrive at number 4, and they tell Tim and Sally that Stephen has woken up, and he has told them he slipped. It wasn't Tim after all, so they're dropping the investigation. And Elaine's like, what the hell? This makes no sense. She's completely confused.
Tim has told Craigie that he shoved Stephen, didn't he? But Stephen's claiming that the accident was unrelated to that and he just slipped over.
Yep. So Elaine's like, this makes no sense. I'm going to go and see him and find out what he's playing at, because I don't trust him, and this feels like another play to me. So Sally goes around to see Audrey and Gail, and Audrey's a bit embarrassed because she's flinging around accusations, and Sally and Gail have a hug, and they're just glad that they're not having to argue anymore, because they're busy friends.
But Sally is still, and I think this came a little bit later in the episode, she's upset that she's lying to Gail because she knows that the shove between Tim and Stephen was more serious than maybe Tim said that it was when he was singing like a canary.
It's almost certain that Sally was twigged that it wasn't actually a slip.
Yeah, she knows that.
She knows that he was shoved.
Yeah.
And ended up in hospital. So Elaine marches to the hospital to see Stephen, and she demands to know why he let Tim off the hook. And this is where we get Stephen, like, lying for his life, isn't he? He's trying to think quickly about what to say. He knows that there must be something he can say.
Yeah, he's kind of deflects and puts off certain questions while he's thinking about a good answer for it, and he gets there in the end. I love
how good he is at lying and making stuff up. He says, look, I didn't want Tim to go to jail. I didn't want us to split up. I love you. And she's like, no, you're delusional. What's going on with this life insurance policy? Why is my signature on it? I never signed this. He's stalling for time, and he's like, why are you asking me all these questions? I just saved Tim's bacon. And then he tries to tell her, you did sign this bit of paper. There was loads of stuff. We had to sign loads of things when we were moving house. We signed this, and we're getting married soon anyway.
Yeah, so he's gaslighting her now, isn't he?
And she says, no way, we're not getting married, Buster. And also, just to remind you, this Gabrielle woman, she's your wife. Why were you talking to her and saying she was from Seagull? Is she in on all of this?
Yeah, and Stephen's like, oh yeah, now you come to mention it, Gabrielle and Claire do look like they're alike, similar bone structure.
I do find it slightly far-fetched that Elaine is so sure that from a photo of this couple, 10 years ago, she remembers and can tell it's the same lady that she saw for a second. She saw her for a fraction of a second, didn't she?
But we
have to believe that she saw her enough to recognise her, but she knows that there's a bit of a doubt. There's a tiny crack here that he can prise open, because she didn't really get a good glimpse, and it was an old photo. So he's like, yeah, she looks a bit like Claire, I suppose. And she's like, no, you're taking advantage of me. You're lying. And he says,
I'd be saying, if I was her, right, you set up another meeting with her. I want to sit in on it. She can show me her ID or something. Yeah.
Get Claire on the phone then.
But the thing is, that can't happen now, can it? Because she decides that she's just going to...
Well, hang on. He says, you signed this document. You signed this joint life certificate. I have done nothing but look out for you and him, their family. And he also points out, I could have died. I'm the one who's nearly died here, not you. Why? You're the one that stands to benefit more from this. When you collapsed the other day... that was after you'd already signed it.
I kind of lost track of what was going on.
Well, they were both just talking about the fact that they're getting on a bit, and Stephen was basically turning it around on her and saying to her, I'm the one who nearly died, not you. You were fine.
I thought he was saying that you collapsed and then you signed it.
Oh, I don't remember.
Was it the other way around?
I don't remember now.
Whatever it is, like, it could well be.
It was plausible. It was totally plausible.
If they look at Elaine says, if I compare dates, will I find out that that matches?
You're right, because he says to her that you were woozy from collapsing, and that's why you probably don't remember that you signed it. But honestly, if I was him, I'd say you have to have life insurance to have a house. I don't think this is true. If you don't have a mortgage, I don't think you need to have life insurance. But we're getting married, we're a couple, and we live in a house together. Of course, we need life insurance. Like, I don't understand why this is. Like, honestly, he could have just said to her, as part of his nefarious, cunning and evil plan, should we get life insurance? And she probably would have signed a document to say that there was life insurance.
Yeah, probably.
What is so weird and sinister about a couple that live in a house together having life insurance?
Good point.
Most everybody who owns a property or is buying a property has insurance on each other. We're all out to kill the other person. We've all got stacks of suicide notes knocking about the house. So anyway, he's saying, I'm trying to look out for you. I'm trying to look out for Tim. You're treating me badly. I want to get back with you. And she looks agonised for a minute, and she's starting to really doubt herself. But she says, I just can't trust you anymore. And she leaves. She goes back to number 4, and she tells Tim that she's like, oh, look, I can't say if I did sign it or not anymore. But either way, I'm not staying with this man. I don't trust him anymore. He's out of my life for good. And Sally comes in, and this is when she brings up the fact that she's had to lie to Gail about Tim, and she doesn't like it. Last bit we see of this story is Stephen cancelling his insurance policy, and this feels like the end of a chapter of Stephen's life, doesn't it? Stephen looks like he's given up on killing Elaine now. He's not going to benefit from it.
If Elaine dies in the near future now, fingers are going to be pointing right at him. He can't do that. He's got to move on. Yeah.
She also, at one point, when she says that she collapsed, and she's like, oh, why did I collapse, Stephen? And he's like, well, because you got low or high blood pressure. And she never like teases that or follows that thread anywhere, but she was for a second thinking that he had something to do with that as well. Yeah. So, I'm not sure what's going to happen now, but I think it's going to involve Jenny.
I know. Now that's just been dangling there for so long. It's been almost a year now since he snogged Jenny, and every month or so we're kind of reminded that he still fancies her a bit, aren't we? But nothing has ever really taken huge leaps forward there. I mean, she's now going out with Owen. It's funny, like. He's decided now that maybe he can't kill Elaine. It wouldn't be wise. But it's funny how immediately we jump to, also, who's he going to kill next? Like, he doesn't have to kill somebody. But us as viewers of the program, and he's a serial killer, of course he needs to kill somebody.
No. I'm not saying he's going to kill Jenny.
No, I know, but we're still thinking, okay, well, Elaine's safe. Who's the next one with a target on their back? Is it Owen, Yawn? Is it Gabrielle? Is it?
It depends on how much Tim is a dog with a bone about this. Is Tim gonna let this drop and let his mum just stay away from Stephen, or is he gonna go out of his way to try to
get him out of Weatherfield?
Or is he gonna try to uncover something? Also, what's gonna happen to the flat, and where is Stephen gonna live?
Yeah, that's a good point.
It is Elaine's flat, isn't it?
Yeah. She bought it completely with her money. So I mean, he can go back to Grasmere Drive, can't he? I assume.
But they've made this set. That's the other thing. This can't be the end of that set, because this set is a very elaborate set. It probably costs quite a lot of money. I can't.
But is Elaine going to? Because we know what she's like. She's very weak-willed. Could she still take him back? I hope not.
No.
Because I was like, go Elaine, even though I'm obviously on Stephen's side for this. I loved how she stood up to him and, grew a pair a little bit after just being a little mouse for so long, and telling him some truths and cutting ties with him. I thought that was a brilliant character moment for her.
Yeah, it was.
I love how she is you know, these suspicions have been building very nicely over the past 2 or 3 weeks, haven't they? And now it's all come to this. It's amazing. And,
it's funny. Yeah, sorry.
And, you know, Audrey's got Stephen. Stephen's got Audrey on his side. And then it's going to be Tim versus Elaine. But yeah,
Tim and Elaine.
And Elaine, versus Stephen. But yeah, it depends. Yeah, like you said, is what's Tim going to do with this bone?
The other funny thing that I really like about this is the way that Audrey and Gail are falling into another serial killer's trap and being... Well, no, Audrey was never...
They're going to feel so stupid.
So this is now going to be the second time that Gail was duped by a serial killer and took their side. And the last time Audrey was gaslit into thinking that she was going crazy, or Richard Hillman tried to make her think, everyone thinks she's going senile. And she's now being convinced by another serial killer that another woman has got a mental health issue. Yeah. And she's fallen for it.
Well, you know, she's 20 years older now, isn't she?
Of course. Why would you not? And this is, you know, this is your son
you'd absolutely
talking about.
Take Stephen's side.
I just love the plots. I love this storyline. I think it's great.
I don't know what's going to happen next.
No,
I've got no idea, and that's what I really love about this. It is in no way formulaic. No. It's not like, well, obviously now this is going to happen, this is going to happen. I've not seen any spoilers or previews or anything.
I don't want to know anything.
I've got no idea.
I love it.
But I would hope that this is the time when it moves on to Jenny, because
she's going to be, if she gets involved
if she gets involved in this storyline,
magnificent.
Yeah.
And also, Tim is basic.
Great stuff for this week. This has been the best week of this storyline for a long time.
Love it.
Right, let's get on to the carting Miss Courtney storyline. So we've been wanting an Aadi story for a long time. You know, ever since Adam took over the role. When was it? 3 years ago now, I'm going to say, maybe 2-3 years since he's been Aadi, and he's been this kind of lovable doofus.
Adam Hussein, the actor.
Adam Hussein.
I thought you were like, how is Adam?
No, not that Adam. Adam Hussein. He's been this kind of lovable doofus as a character, a little bit useless. Evelyn has been getting the better of him, you know, every moment she can at the shop. Remember when he was doing her performance management the other year? He's proven himself to not really be that brilliant a businessman. No. Well, clearly things have changed since then, because he's so good that he can get hired for a job after having one brief dinner meeting with somebody.
Well, Aadi's definitely gone off the boil since the Alahan's car crash of terror.
Oh yeah, for sure. But I still really love the character. Mm-hmm. I'm just somewhat wary of this story, but I'm not keen on this story. I'm giving it a go because it's an Alahan story, because it's Aadi. Feels a little bit different, even though it's yet another secret affair story. I don't know. So let's remind ourselves of what happened. Amy is starting work at the shop on Monday, because obviously this job is not good enough for Gemma to take, even though she's in dire financial straits. Dev is making quite heavy insinuations from what he can see that I've written Adam here, which of course I mean Aadi is flirting with her. Later on, Aadi has beaten some business guy called Darren at golf. So, this reminds... Dev was talking about this Darren bloke, and I wasn't taking any notice about what he was saying, because it was all just blah, 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 business figures, financial meetings kind of thing. And then it turned out that it was actually quite important. So if you were on the same space as me, what it is that Darren is this big name in off licenses, right? Okay. And he's buying up some smaller Freshco's outlets in order to turn them into off licenses, and Dev is interested in expanding the Alahan empire again, and he wants to get in on this. So he has this meeting with Darren at lunchtime on Monday, brings Aadi along as well, in the hope that he can tempt him into inviting him to join him in this endeavour that he's undertaking.
Well, hopefully Darren's smart enough to realise the last time Dev had a chain of shops, they all got firebombed by a crazy lawyer.
Don't mention that. So, Aadi, they go out for this game of golf. Of course, we don't see it because we never do. Aadi's beaten him, but he's like, I was trying I was
trying to let him
I was
win.
I was easing off
I
a
am a
little
golf
bit, but I
prodigy,
can't
though.
do so. There's only
That's
so
my
much that I
character.
can do. I like how they still keep that about him.
I do like the fact that, you know, when he was little, he was a golf prodigy. And
But Dev's saying to him, look, you don't want to beat him too much because we need him on our side.
I'll tell you what I don't like
What?
about this. The fact that I've seen this child grow into a man. The fact that I've watched Coronation Street long enough to remember when he was a tiny little kid. I remember when he was born and all that kind of stuff. I don't like that at all. It's not. I don't think that's right.
So they have this meeting in the bistro, and Darren says, right, I'm looking for investment partners here, and Dev's interested. What about me? And Darren says, well, you got the cash, and Dev's like, you know, I'd have to look around, and Darren's like, straight away,
about?
no, not interested. If you haven't got the capital, sorry, I don't need you. I don't want to hang around waiting for you.
Yeah.
But what I do need is a general dog's body to do various menial tasks for me,
like
mostly which consist of taking my wife around in my swanky car. How about you, Aadi? You've shown an awful lot of gumption and business nous throughout the 5 minutes that I seem to know you. And do you want a job? And Aadi's like, yes, please. So last week, I mean, this happened fairly fast, didn't it? But we did have those scenes last week, at least, where Aadi was pricing up the beans wrong, and he was saying, I'm wasting my life in this shop. So, yes, maybe he might accept the job, but I would say be wary, make sure you know what you're signing up for, Aadi. So in the pub later, Dev says, like, tomorrow's going to be make or break for you, Aadi. First day on the job, you do a good job, I can remortgage everything. We can have the cash. We can invest in this Freshco's off-license deal. It's going to be worth it, Aadi. You just need to keep Darren sweet. Don't go shagging his wife or anything because people don't usually like that. Wednesday, Aadi starts off the day all suited and booted. He's all done up posh for his first day on the new job. And Amy was there inviting him for a gala that the Shoulder Volunteers, this counselling service that she works with, are doing. And he's like, yeah, I'll go along to that. He doesn't. So
Shoulder Volunteers also sounds like a company that in the 80s loaned women power suits with shoulder pads in them to intimidate
us menfolk.
Yeah. You know how everyone was scared of Margaret Thatcher because of her amazing shoulders?
That's it, yeah.
Yeah, that's the only reason she got the job.
So we see Aadi later driving around in this really swish red car, and with Darren in the side. So he's been trusted to drive this thing already. And Darren gets out, they park it outside the garage or something. Darren goes off. Aadi's saying to Dev, I've been a bit of a boring day, really. I wanted to do business stuff, but I've just been driving people around and doing general menial tasks. Darren's barely even mentioned this Freshco's deal, so I've not been able to put a good word in for you, I'm afraid. So Aadi and Darren go to the bistro later, and Aadi tries to bring up the Freshco deal into conversation. Darren's like, oh yeah, next few days we'll talk about it. He's clearly got his finger in so many pies that this particular branch of it is so insignificant. He also asks Aadi at this point to give his wife a lift later.
Business deal.
You know, Mrs. I can't remember what Darren's surname's supposed to be, but
loads of cash.
Courtney Loads of Cash is there, clearly
it's
having
like Chloe Moneybags.
Clearly having just done her morning shopping at the precinct.
She
loves the precinct. She's just a basic girl in touch with her roots. She likes a kebab. She likes shopping at the precinct.
I hate this so much. Whenever they want to, they're like to sort of make a girl seem interesting or outgoing. They always have her eat some outlandish. Like, I know I look thin, but I am going to eat a kebab because I love them. And I'm like, yes, humans like kebabs. You're not special because you're a lady that eats kebabs.
Yeah, but the thing is that Darren doesn't let her, does he? He's got her on this diet to keep her young and thin and beautiful, but she just likes a sneaky kebab every now and then.
Kebabs are very ageing.
Yeah, what needs to happen is she needs to find fellow kebab lover Gemma and then give her a load of money. And then that's that problem solved.
They can both sit in... Gemma can drive her around all day and they can eat kebabs in the car together.
Yeah, it'd be brilliant. Anyway, so Aadi meets up with this Courtney, and she's a piece of work. This woman, isn't she? She is a minxy tarty doll dressed up like a dog's dinner. She's like
All right.
She's got covered in slap. She's got these big pouty lips. She's got her hair pulled back. No, I'm not criticising the actress's appearance.
Okay.
I'm saying that they've made a good job of costuming her like some dolly bird that's clearly just arm candy. She even mentions that herself in today's episode, doesn't she?
She's got many assets.
She's got some
and you can see
couple
all
of big assets, yeah. Plunging neckline. And she's there just being all sexy in the car. And she says to Aadi, right, take me home, but I want a kebab on the way. So he takes her off to Prima Donna and saying, oh yeah, I know the person who runs this. He obviously doesn't want to admit that he is associated with it because I don't
know why.
Well, no, because he doesn't. He's doing business with this, this big business mogul, and he doesn't want him knowing that he's involved in.
Are you kidding? That doesn't make any sense.
A tacky kebab shop. I don't know.
You think an off license has got more cultural cachet than a
a
kebab shop?
Anyway, I don't know what it was. They share some chips together, don't they? And they're kind of she's feeding him.
She's like going, oh, I love a dirty kebab, me. Look at it, I love to get all the sauce all over my chin.
Yeah, I love everything dirty.
I like it dribbling down my face.
Down my cleavage.
Oh, I need a napkin to wipe this up.
She's another...
disgusting trollop.
Was she another Liverpudlian lady as well?
I'm surprised you didn't bring this up already and doing her voice, because I know how much you love do that.
What is it with, we got her this week. A couple of weeks ago we had Cassandra.
It's almost
bringing the city of Liverpool into disrepute.
I can't.
Coronation Street. Come on.
Can't allow it.
So anyway, Aadi gets back home after a hard day's driving and chip eating to tell Deb all about what he's been up to. And he's just not really impressed that his main tasks involve shuttling Courtney from place to place.
Why can't she drive herself? Is she just drunk all the time or something?
No, she doesn't. These ladies just want people to wait on them hand at first. She's not got herself involved with this Darren to go driving herself around. She is literally the arm candy. She is served wherever she goes.
If I had known, I could have done. If I could have looked like Courtney, I could get driven around everywhere and eat kebabs whenever I want. Actually, I'd get that already. And I don't have to.
Yeah, I drive you around all over the place.
Yeah, it's
great. You don't drive yourself places.
I don't have a car.
Anyway, so we also got a little bit where Asher says that Amy's mad that Aadi didn't get a chance to go to the gala, but that didn't really go anywhere.
The shoulder gala.
Yes. But we do get a text from Courtney, or Aadi gets one, saying, thanks for the kebab, it'll be our little secret XXX. Mm-hmm. So this is the beginning of the secret love affair. It all started with a sneaky kebab. Snog affair. Well, we don't
Grooming.
But is that what you're calling it?
Yeah.
Well, so what happens on Friday is that Dev's got his breakfast sorted for Aadi. He's well proud of him doing this job. He wants him to be...
He's made him smoked salmon.
On bon form for his...
Bottom form?
No, on bon form.
Oh.
It's French.
On top form.
I'm being cultural. For this business malarkey that he's going to be up to today. Aadi's still fed up of being a dog's body. So Darren and Aadi are in the bistro later. Aadi tries to bring up this Freshgos project.
I just want to say one thing. This kid is so entitled. Aadi is so entitled. This is his first job that he's got from someone who isn't his dad.
I know.
Right, he's been doing it for a day, and he's shirty because he hasn't been given the CEO's position.
Exactly. Yeah, I know what you mean. Totally entitled. Most people his age, stacking shelves or
doing
waiting
tasks,
tables,
which is what he's
washing
doing now.
Plates.
Starting off at the bottom because he's not got qualifications for business, has he?
I don't know. I
can't remember
I don't think he's got much.
He's not got a degree.
No, exactly.
I don't know what he's expecting to achieve. Mike
Baldwin didn't have a degree.
Well, neither did Darren. But I'm not saying you need a degree. But I'm saying if you don't have a degree, you don't go into a job immediately on the second day going, no, all that crap. I'm not doing any of that nonsense.
Yeah, I want to be partners with you.
Yeah, we're equals.
Yeah.
Darren, me and you.
I know.
But he doesn't want to be a dog's buddy. He wants to talk about business.
Yeah, so he tries to bring up this Freshgos deal, but it doesn't really get very far because Courtney comes in and she has a big old snog with Darren, sits down next to him. Turns out that Darren wants Aadi to take care of his wife again today, by which he means drive her around the shops.
Doesn't she have any friends?
No.
Okay.
She probably doesn't. She's so obnoxious. She seems like the sort of person who'd want to be friends with her.
Does she
Although
not
maybe similarly obnoxious women like hanging around each other and cadging off each other's other halves.
She needs a friend. She needs a cloud of tiny dogs, or like a gaggle of kids.
Oh no, she would never want a kid. I don't think.
That's how you secure your dynasty
legacy.
with Darren.
Yeah.
Once he dumps you, you need to get that cash coming in somehow. That's why you get your kids.
So Courtney's flirting all over the place. They're barely out of the bistro when Courtney's batting her eyelashes at him.
She's got a lot of them to bat as well.
They head over to the precinct again, her favourite spot, and she buys him a milkshake,
so bizarre,
and he's like, "Oh, you just make me feel like a kid." But she's still flirting around with him. They go to Darren's office, and I kind of missed what happened here. I think they're talking about the fresco thing, or it might have been another deal. I don't know.
No, hang on. This was us working, being shown that Courtney isn't just a brainless bimbo. She's got an MBA in business, and she was originally hired to be Darren's assistant.
Yeah, that's right.
But she seduced him, and now she's the girlfriend, and she seems to be somewhat bored, which is why she's dallying with Aadi.
Yeah.
But she's intrigued when he starts to talk to her about the frescoes thing, and realises that he actually has some ideas of business, and she wants to help him out because I think she thinks then he's going to owe her a favour. So she says that she's going to help him bring up this fresco stuff, right?
Oh, I missed that.
I'm pretty sure that she kind of helps him to get an in to start to talk to have Darren take him a bit more seriously.
Oh, okay, thank you.
That's what I think happened.
Maybe. Oh, it doesn't matter. But basically, by the end of the scene, Darren has said maybe we could have a meeting set up with Dev if he's interested and if he thinks that he might be able to.
Aadi says he might actually be able to invest in this with money, not just ideas.
So Darren, Aadi,
everyone has
Dev
ideas.
meet up in the Rovers later. Courtney arrives a little bit late as well, and Aadi does a gulp.
He didn't know that she was going to be there as well.
Yeah, when he sees what she's looking like. The men all talk business, and Aadi impresses him with his knowledge of convenience stores and how parcel drop-off ones are great for convincing people to shop there while they're getting their parcels.
Do you know what my favourite kind of parcel to get at a convenience store is?
What?
An Argos one.
Oh yeah, love
Because
Argos.
although Argos does have an incredible number of convenient 1 hour slots throughout the day, sometimes I'm not home, and when I'm coming home from work, it would be incredibly convenient for me to be able to collect my parcel from a convenient store where I can also do my shopping for the evening as well.
Sponsored by
Argos.
Anyway.
No, we're not getting money for that, but it would be nice if we did. Also, I don't know if you can get Argos.
I don't know whether you can. Probably
delivered.
not. I don't know. Anyway, so this all going great.
This was another hilarious moment where somebody says something incredibly basic about business, and everyone's like, "I
never thought of that."
What, a corner shop that does parcels?
I just find it somewhat unconvincing that Aadi, who again maybe it's like the Toyah and Spider thing, the fact that we've not seen very much of this character for ages, we don't know. Is he actually really good at business? I don't know. But that Darren liked him enough after playing a round of golf with him and having lunch with him to hire him as his right-hand man. Now he's saying that he's brilliant with his ideas and of this. So that it feels odd that Aadi is quite this competent.
Aadi's ambitious. We've been told that, and we've seen it. I don't think he cares about corner shops and kebabs. But he cares about money, and he wants to be successful, and he knows the business of corner shops, and he also is smart enough to work out, like I said, incredibly basic things about the future of these sort of shops. And why Darren doesn't know this, I don't know, but I don't feel this is really out of character. But you're right, it would have been nice to have seen a bit more of Aadi before he just bolts out of the blue to start rubbing himself all over someone else's wife.
Do you think that he's going to end up growing into a ruthless businessman,
I'd actually really like that
type? I don't know whether I would. I like kind of cheeky, innocent Aadi.
It is really interesting because I've never really thought about Aadi's future other than him working for his dad, but rival shops would be quite fun. I mean, he pledged revenge on his dad and he forgot about it.
Yeah.
He even brings up the car crash and doesn't mention the fact that his dad left him to die. And
I think he may well go the ruthless route, but then fall flat on his face and have to go grovelling back to Dev, because I don't. It doesn't sit right with me, the idea that he might well do one over on Dev, and it's not seeming to lead that way at the moment. He's fighting for Dev.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that I still want him to be likeable character. Yeah. At least.
I thought it was funny that Ash had the gall to complain that Dev made Aadi a nice breakfast when she was the only one that got rescued out of a car. Yeah. So I think he deserves a breakfast.
Anyway, so Aadi has to leave this meeting early on because he's been... Oh no, Darren goes, doesn't he? That's right. Aadi then has to leave Dev later because he's been messaged... he's been summoned to Darren's office, but once he gets there, there's only slinky sexy Courtney there, who's draped herself all over the desk, Toyah Battersby style, with a
not quite Toyah Battersby style.
Well, she does. She does like a desk bonk.
Okay.
Doesn't she? And so she's got her legs showing up to her.
There's a bit of a difference in presentation style.
Yes, there is. Yeah, there's no Victorian floral blouses on display here from Courtney.
Rickety old desk of justice.
No.
And the smell of desperation in the air.
No.
It's everything's very slick.
We get to hear a little bit about the couple's history here, Courtney and Darren, and the fact that he's strayed twice.
I can't believe
clearly
twice.
Still. Well, yeah, no. Clearly, still holds a grudge against him for this. She kicks off her shoes, and it is very Basic Instinct, wasn't it? Well, there's that.
Yeah.
And Pulp Fiction is the film that Aadi brings up.
What is it?
Yeah.
The Graduate.
Graduate. Yeah, that's
I've never seen it.
No, we know
doesn't
of it.
appeal to me, but I don't think you need
and
to.
And she goes over to him and pushes up her boobs and's like, "Hey, do you have a girlfriend, Aadi?" And she goes up to him, runs her hand down his chest, cradles his neck,
cringy,
and then gives him a big old snoggeroo, and that's the end of that. But yeah, Aadi, he can't believe his luck this week.
I don't think he's into it.
This is the thing. What do you think happened next? Do you think that they was it just a snog, or is it snog and the sex?
Aadi has not shown interest in this woman. She's been throwing herself at him all week, and he's been complaining that he doesn't want to drive her around and drink milkshakes. Most teenage boys, if they saw this woman and somebody said, "I'm paying you to spend time with this woman all day long and drive her around in a really nice big car, and she's flirting with you and drinking your milkshake," most boys would go, "Bloody brilliant. I can't believe I'll pay you. You don't need to pay me."
Yeah.
Aadi's been going, "But I've got a business plan for Freshco's and how to expand the off-license trade." He's not. He seemed quite intimidated and a bit scared, and he didn't like it when she turned up at the meeting. I think he's a bit intimidated by her.
I think he is, but I think if she's shown him a good time on the desk there, I think he might come round to the idea, because we've seen over the years that he is very, very inexperienced in the ways of women. Right. He was being made fun of when Asher was going out with what was his name? Max Evans. What was that character's name? Nasty
Gunter.
Nasty kicker of Seb. Corey? Is it Corey? Cody?
Corey?
Was it Corey?
Corey's the character's name.
Okay, yeah, no, I forgot. Okay. Yeah, so he didn't have a girlfriend there. People were making fun of him for still being a virgin. He's dated R. Kelly for the best part of 3 weeks maybe. And then they decided quite innocently that they were going to get married young. So yeah, I think that she's obviously taking advantage of him there, but I think that if he thinks that he could have this very beautiful woman on his arm, I think he might quite like that, especially if he thinks, that this is what business moguls do. He's probably heard tales of his dad when he was growing up and getting all the girls and everything. If you want to be a big man in business, you got to have a piece of arm candy.
No.
So I think that he's going to be convinced by this and actually quite like it.
No.
And poor old Amy, who looked like she was, she and Aadi could have had a bit of a relationship there. But he's like, no, sorry, I've got
No.
I've got a proper woman now, and it's like an older woman, more experienced. I think that he's gonna like this.
No, she's pursuing him really aggressively.
She is.
And he's also smart enough to realise that this is a bad move. If he and his dad are going to go into business with Darren, you do not have an affair with this man's wife immediately, like 2 days after you've met him.
So I wonder, is he going to end up... You know, I think... I think that they have definitely done the deed, and we're going to see them, you know, the next morning or something on Monday's episode. If it was just a snog, I feel that we might have seen him, you know, pulling away or going off or something in today's episode. But the fact that we didn't makes me feel like they went off to bed or something.
She's going to blackmail him now, and she's going to force him to spend time with her, and if he doesn't, she's going to tell Darren, and he's going to be torn now because he didn't even want this, and he's going to find it too difficult to juggle having an affair and also actually doing this business stuff that he wants to do.
So do you think that she's actually interested in pursuing a relationship with him, or
she wants to get back at Darren?
Yeah.
And she also seems incredibly bored.
She does.
She should write a book or something.
I don't know whether she is...
She's so bored.
I don't know whether she's particularly interested in forming a long-term committed relationship with Aadi here, but
maybe she should get on TikTok.
Yeah, she probably is on it, to be fair.
She could do a conspiracy theory TikTok. Or rate her favourite milkshakes and kebabs.
So I wonder whether this relationship's going to happen, and then either Asha or Amy are going to discover it. Maybe the word gets through to Dev, and then Dev's like, "You got to stop it now, or we can't let
Aadi,
Darren know."
I'm proud of you, but also you're gonna sink the deal, man. What are you doing?
Yeah, exactly.
I reckon
this deal eventually is gonna fall flat in the face. This isn't gonna work. No. Deb isn't going to suddenly be the lord of the
cut price wine and cans of gin and tonic.
Yeah, exactly. So something's gonna go wrong. They're gonna get found out.
I predict that Amy and Aadi are gonna get sweet on each other, but he's going to be being blackmailed by Courtney, and then Amy's going to find out before anyone else does, and she's going to be disgusted by Aadi going around with this married woman and
especially after she's just come out with this dodgy relationship with Aaron, and now could she get involved with Aadi, who she thinks, and you know, we've been led to believe up to this point that he's an honourable gent, but it actually turns out that he's two-timing her with this older woman. What do you think about the older woman aspect of it?
It's creepy. I said this already. She's coercing him. Like, if this doesn't turn out to be some kind of reverse... is there such a thing as a reverse? You know, like a flipping Me Too on its head or whatever. You know, she's in a position of power over this boy. He can't really say no, can he?
No.
This is exactly what happened with Ray and
Faye.
Because they rhyme, that's why I laughed. Not because it was funny. But the fact that there's somebody who's in a position of power, who's older than you, who is kind of pretending that you have a choice in them sexually, you know, advancing on you, and that, you know, the fact that there will be dire consequences if you don't go along with it doesn't mean that, you know. So
do you think that next week he's going to be all aghast about what happened and gross?
I think it's gross.
I think he's going to think he's cock of the manor, cock of the walk, or whatever the phrase is.
I know, but I feel this is like a super damaging message, and also I can't believe that Corrie wouldn't understand how.
But it's just like a classic
it's
cougar
a classic
story, isn't it?
Yeah, but you have to be a bit tone deaf to not realise that Twitter will be full of people going, "Oh yeah, typical, you know, women can do what they want, and whenever a woman does it to a man, nobody cares, but if it's the other way around, men will always get criticised." You know, I can just imagine, I'm sure there are loads of people going on about it. "Oh, it's always the man, never gets to be the victim." I don't know. I don't think we should give sexists ammunition for starters, and secondly, this is coercion. So,
but I think that she may well be his type.
And I also just want to
I would say
say
there are some similarities between the way that she presents herself and the way that R. Kelly did as well.
I also just want to say that just because say Aadi went along with it and he's perfectly happy, it doesn't change the fact that it's incredibly problematic to have this, you know, her pursuing this kid who's under her thrall, who's been employed to drive her around.
Yeah.
It's not a funny, sexy story. It's not. This isn't 1985. This is, you know, current year, and you can't
forget what the year is. There.
You can't. It's a meme, and you can't go round.
Is it?
Yes.
Oh.
You can't go round preying on people that you hold power over.
Well, I'm sure.
Whether you're a man
that,
or a woman.
I'm sure that Aadi will come out of this relatively unscathed. But yeah, I don't see good things for Deb's business.
Do you think
or money?
Courtney's going to be a very one-note kind of just vampy sex pest, or do you think that we're going to see her cry about how sad she is with all her money, an empty house, and Darren?
I'm not expecting too much depth from this character. But I don't know.
I'm not either. I don't think that's what she's there for. I think she's there to make all the men go, wow, I wish I was Aadi, being sexually
I have to say, she's not
deprived.
my type, Gemma.
Well, I would hope that she wasn't, because why would you be with me?
Right, just before we move on, I do want to give a shout out to the best Dev line of the week, which is when he was when he was talking about wanting to be Richard Branson, not Elon Musk. Mm-hmm. He says, not as rich, but better hair. And then he kind of goes, ha.
Yeah, he does. He's so great.
Was that in the script, or did Jimmy just add that
Jimmy's
extra?
like adding it in. Yeah.
Right, the Brymance storyline, Gemma.
Oh, is this me?
Lower
this
stakes
was, again,
now.
Weird. This was weird, right? Isabella. This Isabella has been knocking about, how long now? 3 months or whatever?
God, feels like an
ages.
eternity.
She turned up as... This story's been brewing for ages. And this at the end of this, it feels like it was a way to make Brian and Mary...
Yeah, when we got to Wednesday's episode, I think it was, and the whole Mary pretending to be Brian's girlfriend and Brian... And I was like, oh, is this just a vehicle for the Brian and Mary romance? I had literally no idea. What a long, convoluted way of getting them together.
They didn't give Isabella a fair shake on this, I don't think. This could have really have been a more funny and bombastic story, but they just flubbed it at the end, I thought. On Monday...
I didn't mind it. I found Isabella a bit funnier this week, actually.
I liked it. I think Isabella was interesting. She wasn't as funny as she could have been, but...
No.
I liked hearing her speaking in Italian on the phone. It was good fun, wasn't it? On Monday, we get to see inside the cabin for like the first time in 25 years. Yeah, I don't know how long it's been, but it feels like a very long time since we've seen
the cabin set.
Brian and Rita in the cabin together. Brian and Isabella have returned from their jaunts around the northern Riviera, and Brian's not had a great time. But Isabella says that he has, and he didn't want to come home. Brian and Mary go to the pub later, and Brian's like, oh God, that was awful. I can't get out of this. I've got to pretend to be dead or something to get rid of this woman. And Mary says, just tell her that you need some space. So in the florist later, Mary's trying to get Brian to tell Isabella about the pest in his flat and maybe that she should move out. And this was her coded way of trying to get Brian to bring up to Isabella that he wanted her to move out. And Isabella's like, oh, I'm not afraid of a mouse, but I do want to go on holiday again because I bloody love Blackpool. I cannot imagine an Italian woman walking around Blackpool having a good time.
I'm sure that she might, that some might, but maybe not Isabella.
Where do you think in Italy is comparable to Blackpool?
I don't really know Italy too well.
Maybe someone can go and tell us what they think. So in the pub later, Brian tells Mary and Eileen that he's going to speak to Isabella, but he wants to find the right moment. What does Eileen come back into this at a later story?
What do you mean? This was Eileen's first appearance of the week.
Eileen looked very different this week. I thought she looked magnificent.
Lots of people said the same as us, which was it took us a few seconds to realise it was her. When she walked out of the toilets, I looked at her and said, oh, that extra there looks a little bit like Eileen.
Both of
but
us
not.
thought that exact same thing. We both said
And then
to
she
each
starts
other,
speaking. It's like, oh, it is Eileen.
It is Eileen.
So she's got her hair trimmed very differently now, hasn't she? And
she's got like what's it called? It's like a cut, like a short, shaved up head.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And she's obviously been on a weight loss regime. She's looking good.
She's looking very svelte, and she looks very different. She looks more glam. And I made the mistake of complimenting a female actress's appearance on Twitter, and of course attracted a bunch of trolls who were very keen to tell me that I was wrong. They didn't like the way she looked.
You also had lots of people stealing the screenshot that you took,
yeah,
didn't you?
Loads of people. Yeah,
and we can tell it's ours
used
because there's a reflection on it because we just photographed the TV.
Yeah, literally do not need to watermark our pictures because I can see the reflection of our window. So, well, I mean, we've stolen screenshots that don't belong to us. It's just funny. So, Eileen looks fab. And also George is looking quite trim
George as well. He's also quite svelte.
Was there a story where George and Eileen have been locked in a basement somewhere? And that's why we haven't seen them for a while. They didn't have anything to eat and they're too embarrassed to bring it up.
Maybe they've been taken hostage and held in a van. They just don't like to talk about it.
Yeah, they just don't go on about it like everyone else. And it happened at a weekend, so it wasn't even in the show. Right, so on Wednesday, Rita gets into an argument with Isabella when she bumps into her and Brian in the shop, because they should have been opening the cabin, and Isabella snatches the keys and swans off, and Brian and Rita get to the shop. She's already having an argument in there with Mary about pear drops. Storms out, Mary's upset. Rita tells Brian, you seem to have feelings for Mary, don't you? And he's embarrassed, but he says he can't get her out of his head. You know, Mary's got this effect on men, doesn't she?
Does she?
Later, Isabella catches Brian on the phone.
Don't see Aadi going after her. I'll say that.
No. So shallow. Brian's on the phone, isn't he, going, oh, prego, scusi.
He's trying to find out about this flat of
7
Isabella's.
fellas.
And, Isabella left on Wednesday, and lots of people were predicting a massive scam, and there was actually never anything wrong with her flat or anything like that. This is what
I don't get. Is she coming back after this? Because this was odd. So, Isabella catches Brian doing this, and she's really mad because she's like, "Oh wait, you want to get rid of me? I don't. Why are you rejecting me? I'm sad." And this argument continues in the pub where Brian admits that maybe she should leave, and she starts crying, saying she's lonely. He's the only friend she has, and he's sighing like, "Oh, she's got me. I can't get out of this." Eileen and George are watching in the corner.
Oh, they were funny. They were just at the other table, weren't they?
Enjoying the drama like we were. Isabella's ranting about Brian stabbing her in the back, and Mary comes over, and this is where she begins the ruse. She tells Isabella Brian does want Isabella to leave because they're in love, and she and Brian are going to move in together, so there'll be no room for Isabella. And Brian's very shocked. I have to say, Peter Gunn in this scene was
he made some great expressions.
He was really good. He's so good at doing subtle looks. I think sometimes they get him to do a bit more gurney looks, but he's
his little befuddled
he can
smirks.
Capture some very intriguing and hard to define expressions, can't he? Because he kind of looked proud but a bit scared and triumphant, and I love Peter Gunn when he gets given something. He can be a really fantastic comedic actor. So he puts his arm around Mary, and you can tell we've already had the scene with Rita and Brian where she rumbles that he fancies Mary, but Peter Gunn was great at this his body language in that scene of like depicting a man who needed to pretend that he fancied her, didn't want her to know that he did fancy her, but had to commit himself enough to convince Isabella that he fancied her.
Yeah,
it was
very well done.
Really good. So Isabella's like, what the heck? Are you sure this is what you really want? My heart is broken.
Mary's like, sorry about that.
Yeah, and she says, look, you've got to go. I want to move in as soon as possible. So, back at number 11, Mary has to tell Eileen and George that she's not actually in love with Brian. It's all just a joke, and she laughs at the idea that Brian would ever be in love with her. And Brian is downhearted, and George and Eileen notice. So Friday is when we see the back of Isabella. They just wave her off in a taxi.
Yeah, gone, first scene.
okay, nice to have had you, Isabella, but what was the point of you? Brian is down because he thinks he's made a fool of himself. Mary says, oh, I don't think so. You've been kind and clever and decent. And he perks up a bit because he wants, of course you want a compliment from the lady that you like. Yeah. And he tells her that she's been amazing. And he loves her so much, he brings her a magnet of Stonehenge that he bought when he was on his magnificent trip. I didn't get this. Were we supposed to be suspicious of where they'd gone, or was it just genuinely a weird shop? And
I think
so that they're laughing over the fact that there's just a shop that sells souvenirs from everywhere in the whole country. I guess it's like when you go to an amusement park and there's the themed shops, aren't there? Like, oh, this is the ghost train shop where you can buy a ghost train cup and a ghost train
how is it like this?
And then at the very end, when you go out the main shop, they'll go, this is all the things you could have bought. Everything is in this shop. That's the main gift shop of Great Britain. And it sells Stonehenge stuff. It sells, what else did they say it had?
I don't remember.
It's probably got some corgis in there.
Hadrian's Wall.
Everyone's favourite wall in Britain. So she's like, thanks very much for this magnet of a place neither of us has been.
And she just disappears off, doesn't she?
Thanks, I'll see you later. I've got a free magnet. Gemma and Sean see Brian is a bit maudlin, and Gemma realises that he's lovesick for Mary. Rita comes in, tells Brian, you need to tell Mary how you feel, and he says, no, because I've been friend zoned.
Yeah.
I hate that word.
Why?
Phrase. It's just what nice guys say when they can't be friends with a woman.
Like Craig. Yeah.
Can't be friends with a woman, has to shag her, and if she won't, then it's her fault for friend zoning you.
I felt bad for Isabella when she was getting upset about being lonely. I don't know whether it was just a ruse.
Are we supposed to just not give a crap about this woman?
Yeah,
I know she was annoying.
I'm not going to deny I was pleased to get rid of her and see the back of her on Wednesday. But when she was talking about being sad and lonely and nobody else likes her and she hasn't got any friends, it did kind of make me feel... And here's more sympathy.
Here's the other mind-boggling thing about this, is that it genuinely does seem that she has had builders in this whole time, and they're still there. Like, we all were thinking that she was lying, or she was delaying it, or she was extending her time in England because she was maybe not even really Italian, or she'd been made homeless, or any number of interesting things. But no. She just genuinely would you prefer
for this story to be over now and just be a little bit disappointed, or would you like there to be some kind of coda to it where she comes back and it is revealed that she is a criminal mastermind of deception?
I'm expecting her to come back.
I just think, no, we're done with her. I wouldn't be sad if we didn't see her again. I would look back on the story and go, this was a bit of a waste of a story.
Why did that happen?
Actually, there's been lots of pretty decent stories in Corrie this year. They can afford the odd clunker here and there, and maybe this is it, and let's whatever, move on, because it's clearly going to be about Brian and Mary now. And I'm starting to warm to the idea. When I first heard or saw or thought or whatever, I don't remember how I found out about it first, back around Christmas time, that Brian was going to pursue Mary, my initial reaction was definitely an eye roll. I didn't think that they were be suited together, and it's like, oh yeah, just put these two together because why not? They're clearly not suited, but I think from what I've seen at the moment, they could potentially make quite a good couple actually. So I'm more invested now.
I'd be fine. I would have been fine with Isabella if it had been a 2-week story.
What do you think about Brian and Mary? Do you think they're going to work as a couple? Because it's clearly going towards that way.
Yeah.
I'm just wary of things with both of them, to be honest, but mostly Mary.
I can't see anything changing particularly. Can you?
Exactly, because they hang around each other all the time anyway.
They're already hanging around each other. I literally cannot see that this was going to make a blind bit of difference, honestly, in Coronation Street, so do what you want. But why have Isabella in it for like 3 months when 2 weeks would have been far more than enough to have made this character interesting, condensed some of her antics into a smaller space.
Yeah, if the end goal of it was just to get Brian and Mary together, didn't need all of this preamble.
I don't even know how long she was in. I keep saying 3 months, but I don't actually know.
Right, so the Max and Reese and Lauren storyline, not the strongest part of this week by a long shot. Basically, Jonah sees Lauren in the cafe and has Leanne sees Lauren in the cafe and has a bit of a Mardy moment at her because she blames her for Toyah getting kidnapped. And Shona's there saying, yeah, Max, you're wasting your time with that one. She's a wrong one. So Lauren goes back to number 8. She's pretty down in the dumps. Max says, look, you're not a bad person. Don't listen to what these people are saying. You were under Griff's spell, just like I was. We were groomed. And I don't want you going back to that. And if you leave now, you might well just get sucked up into something else dodgy again. So you stay with me. And then we get a phone call, or Lauren gets a phone call from her dad, Reese, because it's his sentencing coming up on Wednesday, isn't it? And he wants her to go there. She says, yes, I'm all you've got, but Max isn't impressed. He wants her to completely cut ties with him and says, look, if you go there, I'm not having anything to do with you. I'm kind of at this point thinking, have we seen the last of Sabrina? Because Gav disappeared off weeks ago. Sabrina, I don't think she was in it this week, was she? It seems like they're working towards a relationship between Max and Lauren, which I don't think I'm that interested in. I'd rather it be Max and Sabrina. But in any case, she speaks to Reese on the phone at the end of the episode. We don't hear him. She says, right, sorry, Dad, not going along to your sentencing. And she says to Max, at least I've got you. So Wednesday's episode, we find out just via text, because they can't be bothered to invest in that story, I'm not particularly fussed, that Reese has been sent down for 18 years. 18 years, Gemma.
Why would we see Reese getting sentenced? We know there's no tension, there's no interest. We don't need to see him being told this. A text message is fine.
Just to try and give more, because it felt like this story had a couple of scenes this week, but they didn't really want to commit to making it that exciting. But I suppose they did have a gunpoint hostage situation, and Stephen being rushed to hospital with bleeding temples.
This reminds me of this kind of stuff at the end of these big storylines where we find out that so-and-so's got, prison for this long and that long or whatever. Reminds me of when you watch a crime documentary or something like that, or like a movie, and at the end, the main character does something, and then before the credits roll, it's like the text going, Reese Bolton received 18 years in prison.
Oh, yeah.
He is still serving his time at HMS Highfield.
Yeah. What happened? Has Griff been sentenced? Has he been sent down now? We're not going to find out about that. Don't know. I guess he'd get longer as being the main ringleader.
You think we would know, wouldn't you?
Maybe we do and we've just forgotten. Anyway, they have other stuff in the episode about Lauren getting mad at Max for stopping her being able to go and see him, and then she forgives him. She storms off, and you think that's the last we're going to see of her, but she seems like she's just stormed back to his house, and they have a conversation, and he's like, oh, I'm here for you, Lauren, whatever. Do you mean that? Yeah, of course I do. So there we go. Lauren and Max, they're best friends now.
Lauren and Max
off the scene.
are like, how old are they? 18 as well?
No, not even that. They're like 16, 17.
Imagine finding out your dad's got longer in prison than you've been alive before you'll be able to see him again properly.
Yeah. It's another one of these tragic, young things like Kelly. Her dad disappeared, and then she found out that she'd been murdered and everything. So
she found out she was murdered.
She found out that he'd been murdered, and I'm surprised. I thought that when we had Lauren and Max together earlier this year, like going back January, February time, I quite liked them as a couple. But now I'm not so fussed. But maybe that's just because Sabrina's come along and I prefer her as an alternative.
I prefer Sabrina by quite a lot.
Well, she'd like to message that on Instagram today, the actress who plays Sabrina, because I said that we like Sabrina to one of her posts, and she hearted it.
If I was her, I'd like that as well.
That's it. Not particularly interesting, to be honest. Paul's story. Over to you, Gemma.
I'm starting to get a sore throat.
Oh yeah. Oh, don't do that.
Okay. On Friday, Daniel is visiting Paul. What? Oh yeah. Right. You reminded me of this because I have a memory like a goldfish. I was like, why does Daniel know Paul? And you were like, they live together. Yes, that's right. I forgot. Sorry. So Daniel's going, I'll come to support you and give you a hug. And I don't really know what to say, but I'm here. And also, was it sad or weird or creepy? I guess when you're dying, everything's sad and weird and creepy because Daniel's like, oh, I know someone who died. Sinead.
Oh,
And
yeah.
Paul's like, well, when I get there, the other side, I'll say I'll know somebody.
I suppose I better get baptised then, hadn't I? Otherwise I'm not going to get a chance to meet her.
Was she in limbo? She could be in limbo.
Well, yeah, I don't think Sinead...
We're not sure.
Seems like the sort... I don't think that Arlene was the sort to baptise Sinead
No,
either,
I
to be
think
honest.
everybody would get... I think everyone should get baptised in all the religions.
Do you reckon?
What do you reckon? I think so. I think the doctors should get little spray bottles. When the baby's born, they just give them a spray of all the different
Just to
holy
be on the
waters.
safe side, yeah.
Yeah. So Daniel leaves and Paul tells Billy that Daniel does not really know what to say. I think he did all right, actually, Daniel.
Yeah,
for
he was
what,
fine.
you know, what do you bloody say?
He
I'm not
wasn't-
learning what to say from this show, I have to tell you that. I'm not learning what the best thing to say is. So Billy gets ready to go to work, and he says, you're going to this MND support group, aren't you? And Paul says, I suppose I better go. I don't really want to go, but I will be fine. I'll go, I promise. So he turns up to this place, and this happens all the time. Somebody goes somewhere, and there's always like a perky little urchin, isn't there, who kind of is the introductory character for you to come into this new world of whatever it is that you're. You know, this trope of this like plucky, sarcastic comedy character who's suffering.
I would say, I don't know whether that's true or not, but I would say that it feels like fairly Corrie-ish to have people go somewhere that they don't really want to go, and then they turn round and say, no, I can't do it, which is exactly what happens to Paul here.
Well, he bumps into this lady who is...
Shelley, I think she was called.
Shelley. She is in a wheelchair, and she looks very unwell, and he doesn't really know how to talk to her. He kind of crouches down, and she makes fun of him and says he's curtsying to her, and she's sarcastic.
He's just like
she's
very,
confident.
he's patronising. Well, you know, he's babying her. He's speaking to her like she's.
He's being awkward. I don't think it's fair to say he's patronising. I mean,
He's speaking to her like she is
he doesn't
less
mean
of a
to be.
person.
He
Yeah, he's
doesn't
like,
mean to.
how are you?
Yeah, and he's awkward, but he's also thinking, I'm going to end up here. I can't cope with this. And she kind of tries to get him to come with her because he's like, you must be here for the MND stuff.
She takes him by. He's caught off guard.
Yeah.
By her wisecracking, sarky nature,
Yeah.
and she's just like, yeah, this is the way things are. She makes a joke about.
Bit of a dark joke.
What do you say? Like it's you're either here for the MND support group or the female gymnastics. So I guess it must be the MND. Me, I'm here for the gymnastics.
Yeah.
I quite liked her for that.
Yeah.
And I think that we're going to see him return to the support group next week, and maybe
then she'll die.
Maybe she's going to be his MND friend.
So he just gets really intimidated when they kind of go off to this support group, and he just goes out the door. He goes and sits with Gemma back at the flat, and she's saying to him, I feel guilty about being on antidepressants when you got all your stuff that you're going on. And he says, look, Gemma, just carry on telling me about your problems, and maybe I wish I was dead.
Yeah.
Basically.
Just for a laugh.
Ha ha ha, he says. Billy gets home, and Paul just admits he didn't go to this meeting, and Paul tells Billy about how stupid he felt talking to this lady, and he didn't really know what to say, and Billy's like, she's probably used to it, and Paul says, that's going to be me pretty soon, that's my future. And Billy says, look, loads of people do this, you're not a bad person, and you don't have to go back to these meetings anytime soon if you don't want to. Just go when you're ready. But I wanted Carla to come out, because she's been walking around Ryan every time somebody says something inappropriate to Ryan, scowling. I want her to come out and go, stop being horrible.
You spoke about his face or didn't speak about his face.
Stop
or
being
looked
horrible
at
to
his face
people
or
in
didn't look at his
wheelchairs.
face. Yeah.
You made a comment or you didn't mention it. Yeah, she could sit in on the support group, couldn't she, and tell everybody off for being inappropriate.
Yeah. Forgive me if I'm being very stupid. This woman who was playing Shelley, did she have MND?
I don't know.
Like, in one ways I'm thinking, you know, good for her that she's doing this, and also it would maybe feel weird to have a character that was supposed to be portraying having this serious condition, and she didn't have the condition. Especially as they've been working with the MND Association. But on the other hand, you're thinking, you know, is it with somebody with? I honestly, I'm not sure about that, but I'm interested in seeing more of her, and I think that getting him out into a support group is a good move for the show. But it was just clearly a warm up for next week. What are you doing?
I'm trying to see.
You're trying to find out. You try and find
There's
that
too many
out.
Shelleys in Coronation Street.
Shelley on one, you got a lot to answer for. The only other thing we had this week, storyline wise, was the Damon Child story, where poor old Wallet stroking Adam, who's so excited about this baby that he's soon going to be able to get the scan of and find the. Yeah, he's got his little window in his wallet, hasn't he? He's like, oh, I'm going to have a picture of my baby in here soon.
Well, Sarah's getting nervous because they're going to have a scan that is going to tell them the sex of the child, which will happen with a blood test because it's going to be earlier than you could see whether it's got a winky or not.
Yeah.
So they're going to have a blood test, and she's like thinking, oh, might be a problem for me because the last time I had a blood test, I threw it in the bin.
Yes.
So she might be compelled, like if she sees a bit of paper with DNA written on it, she might just throw it in the bin immediately, and then the jig's up, isn't it?
Yeah, she's worried that next week it's going to become clear that she's been lying about what happened to the results, or is they actually going to find out that the baby's not Adam's?
Or they might say something like, "Oh, hello, Mr. Barlow. It's so good of you to raise another man's child."
Yeah, so
I admire you.
Her mind is probably racing about all the things that they might say, even though they probably wouldn't say any of it to be professional. But he's just excited about being able to see this little babby. But
little babby.
When he goes to work later, he has another panic attack, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And I don't really get why. What was it that instigated that?
So, talking on the phone about being a dad.
Oh yeah, and then it's like, I didn't need that, and it had another silly camera in the face scene, and then he goes and locks himself in his office while a poor client waits outside, and then later on when Daniel comes round, the client's gone, and that's kind of about it, wasn't it?
Yep.
So
I still don't know who this person was, I'm afraid.
We've not been able to find out.
No.
Well, the Coripedia's not going to be updated with today's episode yet, that's the thing. Okay, so not so fussed about that story, but both that and Paul seem to be the warm-up stories for next week, so I'm sure we will have plenty of stuff to talk about for that storyline when we eventually get around to it. Like we said at the beginning, it's going to be a little bit, half a week later than we'd normally be doing it, but you will get that episode and you will get that discussion. So, after the not so good episode of Coronation Street on Monday, how would you say that this week has gone since then, and what score would you settle on?
I would say that it was mind-bogglingly bad, but it was also funny.
It was. We were just laughing our way through those hostage scenes.
It was audaciously...
Yeah. Whereas the Stephen story is supposed to be laughed at a little bit, this is supposed to be deadly serious life or death situation, and we were just laughing at her. Like, when she pulled the gun out, I was like, for God's sake. Honestly.
Yeah, not happy.
But it did get better from them. Wednesdays was particularly the strongest episode of the week. So what's your score that you're giving it, Gemma?
It's hard because I had a good time being aghast at Mondays. I really, really did like Wednesdays. I thought it was brilliant. And then today's was just okay. But I'm mad about what happened with Spider, and I'm mad about Isabella. I feel that 2 characters left this week. And is Isabella coming back? It feels like a very unfinished story. I can't give it more than 3 because I really liked Stephen and the twist and what's happening with Tim and Elaine. So I'm going to give it 3 things floating in Stephen's tea.
Okay, is it a little part from each of his bodies? A little bit of Leo, a little bit of Teddy, a little bit of Rufus.
Delicious. Yeah.
I'm going to go higher than this. Wednesdays, as I say, was obviously the better episode of the week. Mondays, less said about that, the better. And I'm mildly intrigued by this Aadi and Courtney storyline. I'm going to go 3.5 guys that Toyah's managed to keep alive out of 5. Character of the week wise.
Ooh.
Tough one. Are we going to go with our girl Toyah for sticking to her principles and not pining too much after Spider and letting him go, or are we
stick it to the maniosa?
Or is it Spider himself for being, the final chance that he gets? I'm not convinced that this person who has chosen his career over his long-term girlfriend is really the best one to go for. What are you thinking?
I'm giving it to Stephen because he, again, entertained me the most this week. I was on the edge of my seat wondering what the heck was going to happen.
Anything? Okay, fine. I might give it to Elaine because she finally is twigging. She's getting a bit more wind in her sails. She's getting a bit more fire in her belly, and she's standing up to Stephen because she's clocked him. So Stephen and Elaine are our character of the week. So.
Oh, nice.
Right, and that will do for this week's Street Talk.